Live from the 607, it's the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour, where we're talking everything going on in the world of sports. Join in the conversation on social media with the hashtag ODPH, because here we go.
Instead of looking deep inside, every word I have to say, keep it simple.
Welcome to a very special edition of the ODPH podcast, better known as the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour. What is happening, everybody? Thank you very much for joining us this week. My name is Ken M. Joining me in studio, as always, you know him. He's the co-host. Wait for it. His name is Padawan J.
Let me talk to you.
Yeah.
Just got to say, I think you agree with me. The snowstorm we just had through our particular area of the Northeast came in like a wet fart.
Yeah, it definitely did.
We had some forecasters in the area saying, well, first it was like 1 to 2 inches. Mm-hmm. Then it got up to 3 to 4. I'm like, oh, okay. Not a ton of snow. We did experience 5 feet a couple years ago. Not a ton of snow, but mild inconvenience. Mm-hmm. And then it got upped in some forecasters from 3 to 7, which I know is an odd range, but yeah, is what it is. So here I am thinking, all right, well, if it, hopefully it doesn't get too crazy. And then we woke up this morning, and I don't know about you, but I had maybe half an inch.
Yeah, it definitely was not the snowpocalypse that some people were predicting. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, that kind of threw a little wrench in our scheduling this week. So for you, the listener, you get a fusion episode of the ODPH. So we're going to be talking the entire parlay of topics. We're going to be talking movies, TV, comics, sports, and pro wrestling. It's all under one roof. And if you want to keep that conversation going after the show, Pad, where does everybody go to?
ODPHpodcast.com.
Right on. So if you want to go there for the T Public Store link, because it's beginning to look a lot like holiday season shopping time, isn't it?
Yes.
That's where you need to go if you want to get some ODPH swag for the holidays. Also, the Patreon link, one tier, $2 a month, and bonus content is there for you. The blog section, the classifieds, which has friends of the show such as 3FM Podcast, Dragon Master Games, Nerd Initiative. Oh, there's a lot of stuff going on with the fine folks over at Nerd Initiative. So if you want to find out about that, you simply click on there and you can get all the information, boom, right at your fingertips. Also, we got the music section, which, we have so many of our friends out doing big things. Tom Jolou and Shout Out the Robots are out playing. Brian Wolf and the Howlas are making some rounds down in Texas, and Brian's due back home here in the upstate New York region.
Saw the poster.
Very, very soon. Yeah, he's got a big show lined up here in upstate New York, so if you want to go hear him, he's got all the information there. Second Studer, Floodlands, the list goes on and on. Basically, if it's anything and everything that is the ODPH, you can find it at odphpodcast.com. And always remember on social media to use the hashtag ODPHpod. Kicking off this fusion edition of the show, we have to recap a wild week of NFL action. Week 14 got a little crazy, and we definitely have to dive into that. So we are going to do our usual recap of the week that was. So, Pad, kick us off.
Yeah, we're going to start with my lock because I chose the Baltimore Ravens to defeat the Los Angeles Rams, which I figured they would, but I figured it'd be a lot easier than what they made it out to be because the Baltimore Ravens beat the LA Rams 37-31 in overtime. Lamar Jackson, 24-43, 316 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. Matthew Stafford, 23-41 for 294 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Kyron Williams led the way for Los Angeles in rushing with 25 carries, 114 yards rushing, 0 touchdowns. Lamar Jackson led the way for Baltimore with 11 carries, 70 yards, no touchdowns. For receiving, it was ODB. Odell Beckham Jr., 4 catches, 97 yards receiving, and 1 touchdown. Then on the Los Angeles side, it was, who else? Cooper Kupp with 8 catches, 115 yards receiving, and just 1 touchdown.
You have to say OBJ, my friend.
Oh, sorry, OBJ. Yeah,
so just for clarification, but this game was a bit of a surprise, I got to admit.
Yeah.
I thought Baltimore would come out and really want to make a statement win here. The Rams are nothing to sneeze about.
No.
The record doesn't really reflect how they play. Matthew Stafford, I give him kudos just for playing through this entire season with all the stuff he's come back from.
Especially with Cooper Kupp being down, not really having all that great of a run game. Once you get past Cooper Kupp, it's kind of been and obviously you got Puka Nacua, who stepped up for him, but then it becomes, well, who have you got for me lately?
Yeah, I often refer to this Rams team as that Arizona Cardinals team with Kurt Warner, Anquan Bolden, and Larry Fitzgerald on it.
Yeah, you're not wrong. I mean, funnily, you mentioned Arizona. They did lose to Arizona earlier this year.
But that's what this team reminds me of. They're just all aerial attack. There's really nothing on the ground that really makes you worry about. I mean, Kyron Williams had a great game running, 25 for 114, but still.
So did Arizona in those days.
Exactly. Like I say, they had flashes of brilliance here and there. But that all being said, Baltimore really played a gritty game. I mean, overtime, anything can happen. They really stepped up, and obviously getting a punt return back to seal the game is a huge move for them.
That does help.
And especially in an AFC division that is all types of crazy right now. Baltimore really wants to make sure they have home field advantage throughout the playoffs. Lamar Jackson is playing at such a high elite level.
Yeah.
I don't think he's getting enough credit for being in that MVP conversation, but there's so many great candidates this year. We often forget about someone like Lamar who's really doing this very quietly under the radar.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of one of the things you see with a lot of sports where there's only one MVP award. So you get a lot of guys who are lost in the shuffle.
Yes.
That's kind of why I like baseball set up a little bit better, because it can give shine to two individuals. You've got the American League and the National League, although National League have fun with your 10-year MVP award winner. We'll get to that later in the show. But no, that's the thing is, like, Lamar's had a great year. But he's kind of fallen by the wayside just because of the years, Dak Prescott has had, Brock Purdy has had, Christian McCaffrey's had, there's probably, honestly, and this isn't a slight against Lamar, if you were to go and list, say, anybody's top 5, top 6 MVP candidates, Lamar might fall towards the bottom of that list. And it's not a slight against him.
Right.
It's just the way those other guys are playing.
Well, the one thing that he does is he's not putting on a lot of highlights.
No.
Nor does he need to, because all he does is has 10 wins. That's the big takeaway that he needs to focus on, and he's doing it the right way.
Historically, also, you don't want to be in the playoffs with the MVP.
Exactly.
Historically.
But he's playing at such a high level, we have to give him his due, and this was a very tough challenge for him.
It was a good battle test for him.
Yeah, that this really kind of helped boost where we're going to see Baltimore in the playoffs, because I think wherever they are seated, and I fully think they have a great shot at getting number 1.
Currently, they are number 1.
Right, but just to write it outright, I think they have a really good shot of maintaining that. If they get home field advantage, it is not going to be an easy task to go in there, because they're great on both sides of the ball, and they're grinding out wins.
Right.
So they're controlling the clock a lot. This is a situation that if I'm opposing them, I am getting a little worried about the emergence of Zay Flowers. I think he's coming on.
Yeah, he's been great.
Really hot at the right time. OBJ is really starting to step it up a little bit. He's not the OBJ of old.
Right, but the thing we got to remember, too, is he didn't play all of last year.
Right.
So in I don't care what injury it is, when you're dealing with an injury in football, it takes a little bit of time to come back from it, even if you're able to play a game. Because there will be those cuts. There will be those start and stops. There will be those motions you do where in the back of your head, you're going to go, shit, am I going to tear my, tendon here? Am I going to blow my knee out? Like, is this going to happen again? Until you actually get there.
Well, I think he also needs to cover up a lot from the Mark Andrews loss.
Yeah, that certainly hurts.
That definitely hurts. But you're seeing this team really pull it together. And like I say, it's not the sexiest of wins, but it's a win. Yeah. And that's what they need to do. And especially coming from behind, obviously overtime, anything can happen. That's why I say you come from behind, you get a punt return back. It falls in your favor, because overtime, literally anything can happen. So the fact they snuck one out here is a good win for them. Obviously keeps them in the number 1 seed.
Yep.
Because obviously, as we're recording early, we know Miami has a game tonight.
Yes, they do.
They're making a run for it. And Kansas City, well, we'll talk about them in a little
bit.
Good.
That's going to be the interesting thing, too, is just looking at the strength of schedule between these two teams. The combined record or percentage or whatever their opponents they have for the remainder of the season. Baltimore's 500, Miami 400.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see. It's going to come down real close. But looking at those two team schedules for the remainder of the season, for the Baltimore Ravens is upcoming Sunday. They're on Sunday Night Football on the road playing the Jacksonville Jaguars. Then the following week, Christmas Day, Merry Christmas, football fans. You're going to get two Titans going head to head, at least in theory. We'll see how the playoff standings look after next week. Because Monday Night Football, Christmas Day Eve, on the road, playing the San Francisco 49ers.
That's going to be a hell of a game.
That's going to get a lot of people watching.
Oh, absolutely.
Just saying. Week after that, week 17, which is on New Year's Eve, they are playing at home against the Miami Dolphins. And then they close out the regular season at home against the Pittsburgh Steelers.
They haven't announced anything about that game getting flexed with Miami, have they?
They have not. It is still currently listed at 1 p.m. Eastern on CBS.
Or, you know what, actually, come to think of it, because I'm not looking at the schedule right now.
I will pull it up.
With New Year's Eve, are they even doing one at 8 p.m.?
I can look.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think they would be doing a flex. Well, that's interesting how they're going to kind of schedule that out. But
See, week 17. Oh, my Lord have mercy. Let's see. There is a Sunday night game.
okay.
It'll be interesting to see if they flex it, though, because it's currently scheduled to be Packers at Vikings.
Oh, they'll flex it. They absolutely will flex it. For Baltimore, Miami, I fully will call that one right now. That's the only thing with the holidays. They always get kind of crazy with the schedule. So give you a little peek behind the scenes here.
And then for the LA Rams, this upcoming Sunday, they are at home playing the Washington Commanders.
Bum, 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 bum.
Then on week 16, they are on Thursday Night Football playing the New Orleans Saints. Week 17, they are on New Year's Eve. They are on the road playing the New York Giants. And then week 18, on the road playing the San Francisco 49ers.
Well, it'll be an interesting stretch for them. I mean, I think the 49ers game, they might get the benefit of the luck of starters sitting.
Mm-hmm.
So for the Rams, I mean, obviously their playoff hopes are out as far as I'm concerned. So really nothing to write home about with them. But for Baltimore, interesting stretch of games going down there. And I say, after that San Francisco game, the Miami one is going to be one I guarantee you is going to get flexed. And that is going to be the game we're going to be talking about going into the playoffs.
Speaking of games we're going to be talking about, because, boy, I thought my leap would go a lot of different ways.
Oh, boy, here we go.
I chose the Philadelphia Eagles to beat the Dallas Cowboys because I figured, hey, listen, Dallas, as of going into this game, had not beaten a team over 500. They'd beaten a team at 500. They'd beaten a lot of teams under 500, but they'd yet to beat somebody over 500. And I'm thinking, you know what? Philly, coming off that god-awful game the week prior against San Francisco, they're going to turn a new page. Turn over a new leaf, as it were. They're going to want to come out and stick one to their in-division opponents there, the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas Cowboys must have found out and went, yeah, bet. Because the Dallas Cowboys won by the final score of 33-13. Dak Prescott, 24-39, 271 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Jalen Hurts, 18-27, 197 yards passing, no touchdowns or interceptions. DeAndre Swift led the way in Philly for rushing with 11 carries, 39 yards, no touchdowns. Tony Pollard led the way for Dallas with 16 carries, 59 yards, no touchdowns. For receiving, it was Jake Ferguson leading the way for Dallas with 5 catches, 72 yards, no touchdowns. And A.J. Brown led the way for Philly with 9 catches, 94 yards, and no touchdowns.
Shout out to Dre Driven, John from the Pint, and Tyler Mack from 30 and Nerdy, because they are celebrating today.
Hold up. They, them boys.
Yes, they are absolutely thriving today with this big win. And you know what? They definitely deserve to.
Yeah, no, Dallas played great.
They played phenomenally. And the one thing that I have to echo Stephen A. Smith about this morning, too, because he mentions on First Take, and I agree. This Dallas team looked different. They felt different.
Yeah, a little bit.
It was like they finally understand the gravity of the situation here.
Mm-hmm.
That, yeah, like we touched upon, they're having a field day with the sub-500 teams.
Yeah, as you should.
As you should. If you're an elite team, you should. But this game, they got up for. They punched Philly right in the mouth. They never let up. Dak played an amazing game.
Mm-hmm.
One of his best ones I think I've ever seen him do. They keyed in so much on Jalen Hurts, they made him a non-factor, which is wild to think about.
And it's not even the up front 4 or 5 guys on the line, because Jalen only got sacked once.
Right.
They had another guy, Brandon Mann, come in for 1 attempt and completed 1, but he didn't get sacked. So there was only 1 sack on Philly's side the entire game. So it's not like the Dallas defensive line was imposing their will. It's a kudos to the linebackers and the secondary for being shut down.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Because as dynamic as Philly's offense is, when you look at Brown, Devontae Smith, Godare, who's not the greatest tight end, but he's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
He's not bad. To shut down the Philly offense is a kudos to your secondary there, Dallas.
Oh, it's huge. And I think that's something that when we start talking about Dallas, and especially going into the postseason, if this defense stays healthy, they're going to be fine.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they had injuries, and they're still playing at such a high level. Like, kudos to them.
All without Trayvon.
Exactly. Like, they've missed some key pieces
Which
this year.
is scary.
Uh-huh. But you think about Stephon Gilmore, he had an amazing game.
Hey, listen, I appreciate the hell out of that guy.
I mean, I did too.
Former Patriot.
Former Bill, too.
Yeah.
But, you know.
Gilly.
Those are some times ago. But I can appreciate what he's doing in Dallas because he's really stepped up, especially when you talk about Trayvon Diggs being out of the lineup. You have a real solid defensive force that is going to give some teams fits. And especially for a Philly offense that has been putting on a lot of points, they did not look like the Philly of old. They looked lost in a lot of key areas, and they never got back into this. Like, Dallas just kept the pressure on.
Right.
And I think if I'm Philly right now, I'd be a little worried.
I would be too.
Well, because there's two areas I'd be a little worried about. The first and foremost is the offense. If you don't have a response to Dallas or San Francisco, your playoffs are going to be very short. Sorry, it's just how it is.
Yep.
The other area which I think I'd be more concerned with right now is what did we say they did in this draft? They went after defense. And defense was the only key area that we thought they were really looking somewhat shaky on at the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
Or preseason, obviously, and then they came in and obviously was looking very, very scary. They didn't look that scary last night.
No, they haven't looked scary the last 2 weeks.
Right. That I think the mystique is gone.
Yeah.
I think that teams think they can absolutely do whatever they want to on the offensive side of the ball against Philly, and Philly doesn't have an answer. So I don't know how you fix this.
I think you have to have a team meeting. And you almost have to go, because I think this is one of the good things Belichick does, where no matter how good a game you have, he will call you out for any slight mistake you make, and you gotta ignore whatever great plays you have and look at the mistakes, because you've gotten yourself punched in the mouth twice in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
This isn't a case of, you had a bad game, you came back, got a win, and then, oops, you lost the next one you lost the next week in overtime. No, Philly, you got punched in the mouth last week, 42-19, and then you got punched again, 33-13. It's concerning to me because of, just going into that San Francisco game. It was, it's the rematch. We're going to see how it actually plays out now that Brock Purdy's here. And yes, that's true, but also Philly effectively laid a goose egg. Yes, they put up points, but not enough. They laid a goose egg, and then they laid a goose egg in this game, too, with only 13 points.
Yeah.
It's concerning to me. It's something you definitely need to figure out, because that offense runs through Jalen Hurts. Listen, DeAndre Swift is a great running back. He ain't going to win no awards. He's going to get a Pro Bowl nom, I'm sure, because he's a great runner and he's having a decent year. But Philly isn't known for their run game outside of being named Jalen Hurts. It runs through Jalen Hurts' legs. It runs through Jalen Hurts' arms. And yeah, you had a good game from A.J. Brown, 94 yards. Devontae Smith, 73 yards. That's not bad.
Right.
But the key thing there is once you look past the receptions and the yards and the average, you get to that all-important touchdown category. Because that's the one that matters most when you're a receiver at the end of the day. Because, hey, that means you scored. That means you won the game. Looking at a fat 0 in terms of receiving touchdowns for this game. In this day and age, with as pass-happy as the NFL is and as, passing-oriented as the league is, you're not going to win a lot of games if you throw 0 touchdowns.
Oh, absolutely. This is a situation that Nick Sirianni has to figure out and figure out quick, because especially going into the latter half of the season now, there's only a handful of games left.
Yeah.
And with them slipping now to, I believe, the 5th seed overall in the NFC.
Yes, I had it pulled up.
Yeah, because Dallas took first in the East.
There it is. So according to the article on foxsports.com, currently the NFC is the 49ers are, of course, the number 1 seed with a bye. The Cowboys are now the number 2 seed and would be facing the number 7 seeded Packers. And then you have the number 3 seeded Detroit Lions playing the number 6 seeded Minnesota Vikings. And the Philadelphia Eagles, would, as the number 5 seed, would be playing the number 4 seeded Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yeah, so if they want to try sneaking back into that number 1 spot or at least get a better seeding, they're going to need to figure something out. I mean, but they have to get the division back from the Cowboys. Like, that's the only spot they can go get.
Yeah.
Unless something happens with San Francisco. But I don't see that happening. It's a situation that for Cowboys fans, you got to be excited about. For Philly, you really got to be scared. I mean, I don't want to say scared fully, but I think this is something to pause for concern.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't see how you get out of it.
No, well, I mean, I'm looking at the two team schedules before I mention them on air. If I had to lean and pick who's going to get the division by year's end, it's going to be Philly.
Yeah.
Listen, and I can hear the Dallas fans screaming at me. Listen, there's nothing against Dallas. Dallas is playing a hell of a game right now, and they're a hell of a team. As good as that defense is without Trayvon Diggs, it's impeccable. But let me get into the schedules here, and then you might see where I'm coming from. So the Dallas Cowboys, I'll go with them first since they won the game. This upcoming Sunday, they are on the road playing the Buffalo Bills.
Yep.
Then week 16, on the road playing the Miami Dolphins. Week 17, at home on Monday Night Football. Well, I say Monday Night Football, but it's Saturday football. It's on ABC and ESPN. Detroit Lions.
That'll be an interesting game.
And then closing out the regular season on the road playing the Washington Commanders. So Commanders, you never know, division game, coin flip. But Buffalo, who's resurging, we'll get to that in a minute. Miami, who's clicking on all offense. I mean, listen, for all intents and purposes, if Tyree keeps playing the way he does, he could be going into that game against Dallas, potentially looking at the 2,000-yard record. And then they've got Detroit, which I know Detroit kind of a mixed bag right now, but hey, they're still Detroit. So 3 hard games back-to-back there, and then you got Washington, which, again, coin flip. You never know. For Philly, this is why I say Philly, I think, could get it, because here's their schedule for the remainder of the year. This upcoming week, this next week, they're on Monday Night Football on the road playing the Seattle Seahawks.
Okay.
Depends on if Geno Smith plays.
A lot of factors there.
Yes, Geno Smith didn't play. If it's Drew Lock, probably going to be Seattle. If Geno Smith plays, you never know. Week after that, at home against the New York Giants. Philly by 1,000,000.
Should be an easy one.
Week after that, at home against the Arizona Cardinals.
Should be an easy one.
Closing out the regular season on the road playing the New York Giants.
Should be an easy one.
So out of the final 4 weeks, they are playing, according to statistically, two of the worst teams in the NFL. One with the number 3 overall pick in the draft, that's the Cardinals. One with the number 5 overall pick in the NFL draft, that's the Giants.
Philly should be able to bounce back, but it just depends on if they can catch Dallas at this stage.
Right.
That's going to be the big X factor, so we will have to watch that as it moves forward. But I tell you what, for Dallas, they're going to have some tough tasks ahead of them.
Yep.
At least that's a division we like to talk about.
Oh, my God.
Because I think we'll be very short about our next game we're going to discuss. Because it is by far and away the worst division in all football, and that is the NFC South.
Give an update. Christ almighty, it got worse. They're all below 500.
Yep.
Holy shit.
So we will be super quick about this one, trust me, folks, because, Pat, who is Atlanta?
What is Atlanta?
Atlanta took an L to the reluctantly first place Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Last night took an L, and something tells me they ain't bouncing back.
No, they're not.
So the Tampa Bay Buccaneers beat the Atlanta Falcons 29-25. Baker Mayfield, 14 of 29, 144 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Desmond Ridder, 26 of 40, 347 yards passing, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Tyler Algier, 9 carries, 40 yards, 0 touchdowns, leading the way for Atlanta. In rushing for Tampa Bay, it was Rashad White, 25 carries, 102 yards rushing, 0 touchdowns. For receiving in Tampa Bay, it was, who else? Chris Godwin with 5 catches, 53 yards, no touchdowns. And then for Atlanta, it was Drake London with 10 catches, 172 yards receiving, no touchdowns. If there's a highlight for Atlanta, it's that stat line.
I was going to say a highlight for fantasy football owners, Kyle Pitts, 1 touchdown.
Hey.
57 yards, but still. Honestly, I'm not going to spend a lot on this game. There really isn't anything nice to say. Tampa Bay fought back to get the lead late.
Tampa Bay's scrappy. They're kind of like the Indianapolis Colts in a sense.
In a sense.
Or the Chargers.
They're kind of a good mix in between because Tampa Bay should be doing better.
Yeah.
Especially in their division. They're not.
Yeah, I mean, with Godwin, with Evans, Evans, 6 targets, 1 catch, 8 yards.
Yeah.
Thanks for showing up, guy.
Yeah, this is a situation that Tampa Bay should be a lot better than their record reflects. Atlanta is who we thought they were.
Not good.
No, they're not good at all.
I feel bad for Drake London and Kyle Pitts. Hell, even Bijan Robinson.
Well, Robinson, remember at the beginning of the season, everybody was touting him as the next great running back, and I'm sorry, the system you're in right now is not really reflecting that.
Well, and again, it's coming off of another one of those scenarios where great year in college, not necessarily translating, although that could be more up to the system.
I think it's more of the system right now. I mean, I want to see what he does next year, to be honest with you. But I think for right now, Atlanta has just got so many issues with it that the fact they're 6-7, I think, is a highlight of itself.
Hey, Atlanta, if you need a head coach or a new OC, I can think of one guy who's currently unemployed.
Yeah.
Certain guy by the name of McDaniels.
I think OC would help a lot more. Head coach, no.
Right.
Head coach,
Right.
no way. No, I'm sorry. My opinion, absolutely not. But like I say, somebody's got to win this division. It should be Tampa Bay. Who are they playing next week?
So for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the schedule for the remainder of the season, this upcoming Sunday, they're on the road playing the Green Bay Packers. Then on Christmas Eve, they are at home playing the Jacksonville Jaguars. Then on New Year's Eve, they are at home playing the New Orleans Saints. And then week 18, they're on the road playing the Carolina Panthers. So they'll get at least one more win in those final four stretches.
They should.
Not too sure about the other two, but we'll see. For the Atlanta Falcons, they are, oh God, if you willingly watch or go to this game, you hate yourself. This upcoming Sunday, the Atlanta Falcons are on the road playing the Carolina Panthers. Tickets are, and this isn't a joke, like you know how you go to ESPN, you can look at the team schedule and it tells you tickets is low?
Yeah.
You can get a meal at Subway for more expensive than these tickets.
Jeez.
Tickets are as low as $6 for that game.
Yowza.
Yikes. Week after that, they're at home against the Indianapolis Colts. That might be a good game. You never know. Then week 17, on the road. God help the fucking Atlanta Falcons for this game. On the road in Chicago on New Year's Eve. They're going to freeze.
They're going to freeze, but I will say this. The last time I can really remember them having a high-profile game against the Bears at holiday time was one of the most hard-hitting games I think I've ever seen. So
that's true.
I'm hoping for that.
And then they close out the regular season on the road in New Orleans playing the Saints.
Well, somebody's got to win this division, so maybe they can.
Can we just relegate? Can we get like English Premier or like FIFA soccer rules, UEFA soccer rules, and just relegate the entire NFC South?
I have no problem with that, to be honest with you. Absolutely none. Because, I mean, the only other way they can sneak in the playoffs is if they blame it on the refs.
Yeah.
Allegedly. Allegedly. Because let's get into it. This was my leap.
Yeah.
And I know there's a lot of storyline with this. The Buffalo Bills circled the wagons. It was ugly. It was not pretty.
Yeah, it was.
But thanks to one egregious penalty, everything changed. The Bills are still alive on paper. Kansas City in front of Taylor Swift and company showed a side that I don't think they are going to live down anytime soon.
No. Nor should they.
Nor should they. Agreed. Let's talk about it, Pat.
So the Buffalo Bills defeated the Kansas City Chiefs 20-17. Josh Allen, 23 of 42 for 233 yards passing, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Patrick Mahomes, 25 of 43, 271 yards passing, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Clyde Edwards-Helaire led the way for Kansas City in rushing with 11 carries, 39 yards, no touchdowns. James Cook led the way in Buffalo for rushing, 10 carries, 58 yards, no touchdowns. Josh Allen should note 10 carries, 32 yards, 1 touchdown. For Buffalo in receiving, it was James Cook. 5 catches, 83 yards, 1 touchdown. For Kansas City, it was Travis Kelce, because duh.
Yeah, no surprise there.
6 catches, 83 yards, and although it says 0, should have technically been 1 touchdown, but we'll get to that.
The easiest way to describe this game is Kansas City faltered at the end because they weren't paying attention. And that's the easiest way you can describe it. Because what is making all the national news, and you have seen this time and time again if you're a sports fan, is when they were driving down the field at the end of the game, Kadarius Toney, who has had a less than stellar, in my opinion, career in Kansas City,
To say the least.
to be polite, was lined up directly with the football. He did not check in to the line judge or the referee to see where he was. Pad, what is this penalty called?
Offensive offsides.
Correct.
Not something you hear every day.
It's not something you hear, but this has been a penalty they've been really focusing on the past couple of years.
And if you don't think, he was offside for whatever reason, take in mind what was asked to the ref by the pool reporter after the game, because at that point, Patrick Mahomes had made his comments and Andy Reid had made his comments, egregiously, might I add. And the referee basically said, and I'm paraphrasing, yeah, that's cool and all, but like also you got to factor in the sideline ref couldn't even see the ball past his helmet.
Exactly.
And that was also true on the broadcast.
So it's a penalty. And granted, maybe it's something new that some did not understand. I don't understand the uproar that is happening about this other than Kansas City, you might not be as good as you thought you were.
Even if, they hadn't called an offensive penalty or offensive offsides on this, they also could have called an illegal formation on this because I can't take credit for this. I saw this on social media today and I spent the last couple of minutes trying to pull it up here. But I saw this photo on social media and I'm going to try and zoom in here because, of course, the friggin' font is microscopic. But basically what it says is Article 3, player on line of scrimmage. And I'm guessing this is from the online NFL rulebook you can look at.
Yeah.
It says, quote, a player of Team A who is on the line of scrimmage must have his shoulders facing Team B's goal line. Item 1, non-snapper. If he's not the snapper, no part of his body is permitted to be in the neutral zone at the snap, and his helmet must break a vertical plane that passes through the belt line of the snapper. The one guy, and I'm showing Ken this same photo here, this dude is way off of where he should be.
Oh, absolutely.
So it's not on top of things. It's, offensive offsides, but also an illegal formation. Now, the thing that Mahomes and Reed are griping about is, well, they never told us. Patrick basically said, and again, paraphrasing, but Patrick was like, well, ever since grade school, elementary school, we always were told when we were offsides. And even go watch the clip. I know it's on ESPN's YouTube page from First Take this morning where Shannon Sharp, 3-time Super Bowl winner, Hall of Famer on offense, plays the same position Travis Kelce plays, also said, yeah, they do tell you that. Only if you ask, though. And they're not behooving to just go out of your way and tell you. He said, now, and also Rex Ryan brought it up on Get Up this morning on ESPN. And the head coaches will be told, but only if it happens a bunch. They don't go every single time and go, hey, gotta get your left tackle back. Hey, gotta move your right tackle up. Like, if it happens repeatedly, they'll give you a, hey, if you don't fix this, we're going to have to call you for a flag.
Yeah.
And now, the other thing, too, the refs, and I've never seen this, the refs won't run in from the fucking sideline and go, hey, by the way, you need to move up a little bit. I'm sorry, go watch the replay again. He's watching the fucking ball. I realize I don't play in the NFL, and I'm not an NFL caliber player, but when I'm standing, if I know I'm not supposed to, like if you're at a traffic light, let's just say, and you're not supposed to be in the middle of the intersection because there's a chance you could get hit. I know if I'm in the left turn lane, if the car to my right is the driver is basically where my back passenger seat is, I'm probably too far forward.
Yeah.
It's common fucking sense. And Kadarius Toney, I don't care how long he's been in the NFL, he's been playing football for long enough that if he's an NFL wide receiver, he's been playing wide receiver long enough, you're not supposed to be lined up with the ball. He's watching the ball for the snap, and something should have clicked. To me, it's a J.R. Smith moment.
No, I fully agree.
In the NBA Finals,
love the analogy,
where Smith didn't realize how much time was left. Toney should have looked at the ball and went, fuck, I'm too far forward, and taken a step back. At worst, it would have been a false start and it would have knocked you back 5 yards. Now, I get the argument, it didn't affect the outcome of the game. It didn't affect the play. I get that, but still. And you'd have an argument for that if it was a case where the ref waited super late to throw the fucking flag.
Right, they threw it right away.
Immediately, as soon as the ball was snapped, flag was thrown.
Yeah. They have no leg.
Kansas City's got no leg to stand on this. And I'm sorry, disclaimer on my language here. Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid need to shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
As somebody who has been a Patriots fan for 20 years, and I've had to listen to the gripes and moans of other NFL fans. Well, the Patriots get all the good calls, and the refs are in their favor. Did you ever hear Brady or Belichick in 20 years bitch and moan to this level. They might have said, hey, you know what? We didn't agree with, the refs' calls, but, we're on to whoever it was.
Not to this level.
They certainly complained. I'm not saying they're I'm not saying they're blank and they're guiltless of complaining about refs.
No.
They certainly complained, but they did not go to this level.
Take Deflategate out of this argument. There might have been a complaint here or there at the press conference after.
Right.
But not to the point where Patrick Mahomes is throwing a temper tantrum on the sidelines, swearing, throwing his helmet. And when he goes to see Josh Allen at the end of the game, where every time you see the quarterbacks meet, they always say, like a good game, stay healthy.
Modern, Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, the cameras are going to be there.
Yeah. All he can do is complain about the refs.
Yep.
To Josh.
Now, you would have figured, see you in the playoffs, because you would imagine these two teams could likely see each other in the playoffs.
Something.
But no, it's not good game. It's, hey, good job. Hey, see you down the road. It's fucking bullshit, man.
And the biggest thing that is most alarming is when you hear these two gentlemen complain, they're not disagreeing with the call. They're just saying, how could you call it?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
when you can't see the fucking ball on the broadcast.
Yeah, newsflash, guys. If a referee sees it, they're going to call it.
Now, the thing, too, is let's bear in mind, they always say on the broadcast, the line isn't perfect. It's just it's just the estimation, whatever, blah, blah, blah. That doesn't matter when we can't see the fucking ball.
Yeah, that's exactly the point. Your receiver, who has been playing subpar this entire season, and
they're receivers.
Yeah, well, you know what? No, but he leads the bunch. How many drop passes has he had?
Oh, Christ.
And he had another crucial one in this game, too, that he dropped.
I'm sure I can dig that up.
So if you want to be venting your frustration, vent it on your own players that are subperforming, because that's where the issue lies. It doesn't lie in the referees, because let's face it, over the years, you guys have been on the favorable sides of calls at times, too. A Super Bowl really rings true about that.
So looking at the game log for one Kadarius Toney, for this season, he has 34 targets and 25 receptions.
How many?
34 targets. So he's been targeted 34 times.
Mm-hmm.
He's caught 25 of them.
So he's dropped, 9?
9, yeah, 9.
And how many of those were easy catches? How many of those were in his favor? How many of those were uncontested? That's the question you have to ask. And I'm sorry to be so critical about this, but no, he's underperformed this entire year.
It's looking like there was a reason New York, the Giants, were willing to let him go for a third-round pick.
So if you're not focused on the game and you're being distracted for what reasons, here you are. And this is what happened in this game.
He's a first-round pick out of the 2021 draft, so it's not like he's a journeyman. He's in his third year.
Exactly. But the fact that you allowed yourself to lose focus at such a crucial point in the game, it's on you.
And screwed up the play of the decade in the NFL. Let's not get it twisted. I haven't seen a play like that since it was Boise State and Oklahoma in the Fiesta Bowl almost 20 years ago.
Oh, it was very smart by Travis Kelce.
Oh, it was genius. And I agree with what Ryan Clark said on ESPN. It would have been the play of the decade in the NFL, one of the greatest plays in NFL history.
Mm-hmm.
But your wide receiver was a dumbass.
Yeah, I mean that's point blank. So if you guys want to be mad at anybody, be mad at him. Be mad at your other wide receivers that are dropping balls.
Be mad at yourselves for going blank in the first quarter.
Yeah, exactly.
Score a touchdown or, hell, even a field goal in the first quarter, and we're talking about a tie game and going into overtime.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you guys took advantage of a couple plays that, let's face it, there was one catch that was ruled a catch, which, is questionable about the ball being caught. It should have been a fumble possibly, and you go from there. I'm just saying, if you really want to blame it on the referees, I think you have the wrong argument here, because this is so blatant and egregious that you can't argue. And the fact that you guys are crying a river to anybody that's willing to paddle is a joke. And this is something that, guess what, guys? If this is any indication about how your mental toughness is going into these playoffs, you're going to be one and dones. Sorry, because guess what? You're now no longer in that number one seed hunt. You're going to have to go on the road, arguably, to go face somebody in the second round if you make it that far.
Right now, the Kansas City Chiefs are the number 3 seed playing the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah, so like I say, they'll have the fortunate advantage of the Steelers coming there.
Yep.
Depending if the Steelers make it, because obviously injuries have hit them at the worst possible time.
We'll get to that in a minute.
Right. So chances are they might be facing Buffalo again.
Yeah.
depending on how that goes, or even a Denver who's sneaking in and getting hot at the right time.
Let's ride.
The whole situation here is Kansas City is crumbling before our eyes. The Bills scrapped. Granted, they probably should have lost this game. I'll be the first one to tell you that.
I thought they were going to.
Well, you know what? Their defense collapsed in the second half again, and this is a trend that unfortunately has been going on for quite some time this season. Their defense is getting banged up. They're getting injuries at the worst possible time.
Right.
And the fact that they're not having their team step up to just at least maintain and do a stop. I'm sorry, if you know Travis Kelce's on the field, double cover him, and you make Mahomes beat you with another receiver.
Do the same thing you did for Gronk, which unfortunately is go low, but when these guys are that big, it's about all you can do.
Exactly. I mean, if Rashid Rice is going to beat you, okay, because you know what? He's playing out of his mind right now.
Best receiver on that team.
Fully agree. So I get that. But I would say I'm not worried. Make Tony beat you. Oh, I'm sorry. That's not going to happen.
No, unless you're playing Madden on easy.
Right. But this is a situation that for the Bills, yeah, they're lucky they snuck one out. It was a good win. It'll boost up some morale that they desperately needed because they're literally going to have to run the table to get in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And I don't think they're going to do it.
It ain't going to be easy.
Well, let's talk about their schedule.
So their schedule the next couple of weeks is upcoming Sunday. They're at home against the Dallas Cowboys.
That's going to be a tough game.
Week 16, they are on the road playing the Los Angeles Chargers. Should note, because I'm looking at it here and I figure I should tell people this, that game is on Saturday, December 23rd, and that is going to be on Peacock.
Okay.
Looks like it's going to be on Peacock only, so it won't be on broadcast television. If you don't have Peacock, it's like $5. You can probably sign up for a week and then cancel. Then week 17, New Year's Eve, at home against the New England Patriots.
Anything can happen there.
And then week 18, good location for you guys because you don't have to freeze your ass off.
Miami.
On the road in Miami, which, hey, if there's anything I know about playing Miami late in the season in Miami, shenanigans will ensue.
It probably will, and the only thing that might favor the Bills at that point is Miami might sit starters.
So Dallas
Maybe.
ain't going to be easy.
No, Dallas is going to be the tough task.
Chargers should be easy, although that kind of depends on what happens with Justin Herbert. We'll get to that in a minute. Patriots coin toss because hey,
legit. No,
look at what happened earlier this year.
No, legit.
And then Miami also a coin toss.
Yeah. The Bills control their own destiny. They're going to have to find a way to pull something off. As for Kansas City, well, you know what? They're mentally breaking. Sorry. Yeah. I mean, maybe it's all the pressure of Taylor Swift coming there. Maybe it's the spotlight's on them. Maybe the luster is gone for what they had. Because let's face it, this is not the same Kansas City Chiefs team of old.
No.
And unfortunately, Mahomes is getting zero help other than Travis Kelce and Rice at the position skill players.
Yeah.
And that defense is not looking that great because there was another argument, I believe it was Chris Evans on the sidelines, arguing with the coach.
Oh, yeah.
Which got caught on tape. So guess what? If you guys are or Chris Jones, I'm sorry.
Chris Jones.
If you're having one of your leaders on your defense break like this, and this is getting caught on TV, which, I mean, let's face it, perception is reality, folks.
Yeah.
If you're having meltdowns on both sides of the balls, there is a problem in Kansas City.
Yep.
So how are you going to fix that?
For their remaining schedule for the regular season, they've got Week 15 on the road playing the New England Patriots. Week 16 at home against the Las Vegas Raiders. Week 17 at home against the Cincinnati Bengals. And then Week 18 on the road playing the Los Angeles Chargers.
Should be more favorable than it is, but honestly, after seeing the performance that they showed after losing, wait and see. ...
Yeah, so then we're going to go around the league for the remainder of the games we're going to talk about here. First, what we're going to talk about is the Chicago Bears beat the Detroit Lions by the final score of 28-13.
Well,
Seth Rollins is happy.
Yeah, Seth Rollins is happy, but honestly, bad loss for the Lions. Very bad. I know they're in number 3 seed right now, but that is not. That could be a one and done, to be honest with you.
Then you had the Cincinnati Bengals beat the Indianapolis Colts 34-14.
Jake Browning had a great game.
Hey,
you know what? The Bengals are going to scrap. So if they get in the playoffs, I'm not saying they're going to go Super Bowl, but they'll make some noise.
The Cleveland Browns beat the Jacksonville Jaguars 31-27.
Pat, are the Browns contenders or pretenders? Let's talk about it.
Contenders to make the playoffs? Yes. Contenders to make anything past the first round of the playoffs? No.
I think that this Browns team is for real. I don't think they're going to make a deep run, but they're making some noise. Like they're still going to be in this hunt for the playoffs. And for Jacksonville, I don't know.
We know they're not for Cleveland. We know they're not going to win the division,
right?
Because Baltimore's got that locked up tight. But playoffs, I mean, they are currently the number 5 seed in the playoffs, which is the first spot out of the division winners.
Yeah. I mean, like I said,
So they'll make the playoffs.
they control their own destiny,
Yeah.
but I mean, injuries have just really hurt this team badly. But
Yeah.
great win for them against Jacksonville.
Then you had the New Orleans Saints beat the Carolina Panthers 28-6.
They had uniforms. They played.
Sorry, Carolina.
Yep.
Then you had the New York Jets beat the Houston Texans 30-6.
Well, I think the story here is C.J. Stroud went down.
Yes.
So I put an asterisk by this, depending on how much time he's going to miss, if at all.
Yeah.
But with him out of this game, I mean, these are the Texans who we've always known.
Also, if you want to talk second half adjustments, this is the game for it because this game had an immaculate half.
Yeah.
Nobody scored in the first half.
Yeah.
0-0 at halftime. But also all the scoring was in the second half. So, hey, kudos to, the coordinators.
And especially Zach Wilson, 301 yards, 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Maybe there's some competition with AA on him after all.
I think he knows his window is closing.
Yeah, just turned 40.
Yeah.
Then you had, this fucking game. Again, if you went to or watched this game, I'm sorry. The Minnesota Vikings defeated the Las Vegas Raiders 3-0.
They had uniforms. They played.
The Las Vegas Golden Knights scored more points yesterday than the Las Vegas Raiders did.
True story.
Vegas Golden Knights scored 1 point.
Yep.
The San Francisco 49ers beat the Seattle Seahawks 20-16.
Great game by the 49ers. Brock Purdy, 368, 2-1. Listen, I'll take that stat line any day. And, I mean, they're the best team in football for a reason, folks.
Geno Smith, who knows how long he's going to be up, but it
Yep.
is not a good time to be hurt for the Seattle Seahawks. Right, they're still in playoff contention, but not looking too good. Then you had the Denver Broncos beat the Los Angeles Chargers 24-7.
Let's ride.
Yeah, Broncos surging.
Surging at the right time. I mean, let's face it, we all writ them off for dead, but they're back.
And then we mentioned Justin Herbert. Who knows how long he's going to be out for the Chargers. Currently listed as doubtful, but it does say, according to the injuries list on for the Chargers on ESPN.com, quote, Herbert isn't expected to be available for Thursday's game against the Raiders while he recovers from a right index finger fracture, Adam Schefter of ESPN reports.
Yeah. So we'll have to wait to see how it all shapes up there, but a lot of storylines coming out of this week's NFL action, so definitely hit us up.
Still got one more.
Oh, we do?
We do. We got to talk the Thursday game because that was my team, the New England Patriots.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, we actually got to talk about a Patriots win. I know it's a rarity.
I was going to say it.
There's only been 3. But the New England Patriots defeated the Pittsburgh Steelers 21-18. Bailey Zapp, 19 of 28 for 240 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. Mitch Trubisky, 22 of 35 for 190 yards passing, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Mitch Trubisky also led Pittsburgh in rushing with 8 carries, 30 yards, 1 touchdown. Ezekiel Elliott led the way for New England with 22 carries, 68 yards, no touchdowns. For New England, it was Juju Smith-Schuster with 4 catches, 90 yards, 0 touchdowns. Got to note, though, Ezekiel Elliott, 7 catches, 72 yards, 1 touchdown. So he had over 150 or about 150 yards of total offense, which, hey, good showing for him. He's on a 1-year deal with New England and it'll probably get him signed someplace.
Yeah, I'll take that.
And for Pittsburgh in receiving, it was Deontay Johnson with 3 catches, 57 yards, and 1 touchdown. Should also note, with this loss, the Pittsburgh Steelers became the first team in NFL history to lose back-to-back games against sub-500 teams that are like 8 games or more below 500 in consecutive weeks. It's never happened in the NFL except for this one time.
This Steelers team is very puzzling.
Oh, tell me about it.
I mean, Trubisky is not the guy. We know that. He's a great backup. Should be in Buffalo.
The over-under for this was Pittsburgh by 5.5. Or no, excuse me, the line was Pittsburgh by 5.5. The over-under was like 30.5, which was like the lowest over-under in the NFL in like 5-7 years.
Well, both offenses are not great.
Oh, I know. There's a reason I didn't watch this game because I'm like, the Patriots suck. Pittsburgh's going to not exactly destroy us, but it ain't going to be pretty. I figured TJ Watt had set the goddamn NFL single game sack record in this game.
Yeah.
That didn't happen, but it hit the first touchdown, and I'm like, oh, okay. And then the second quarter happened where they put up 2 more touchdowns, and I went, what the fuck is happening here?
Yeah, I mean, that's a question about this Steelers team. I mean, they are struggling badly. And for the Patriots, I mean, they're playing with house money. Nobody's expecting them to do anything. So is Bailey Zappi the guy? No.
No, fuck no.
No, I mean, I think...
People always ask me, and I'm like, listen, there's a reason they cut him in preseason.
Yeah.
They still brought him back, but there's a reason they cut him
when
they could have held on to him.
Yeah.
Hey, all that matters, Still got the number 2 overall pick in the NFL draft.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's the only thing that matters to you.
Still got the number 2 overall pick. I realize we're tied with Arizona with 3-10, but so same record, same win percentage, but our strength of schedule is slightly weaker.
Yeah.
So that's how we're in second place.
Take it as it is.
I'm taking it as a win.
That said, we got a lot of headlines to talk about, so definitely hit us up on that hashtag ODPH pod. What is your takeaways from Week 14 of the NFL? We want to have that conversation. But we're going to take a quick break first. We'll be right back.
Do not adjust your dial, or your phone, your watch, or whatever the heck you're using to listen to the awesome podcast you're currently listening to. I am the Duke of Nerds, Tyler Mack, and I am here to tell you that being a nerd can be a bit overwhelming, especially after 30. Life moves pretty fast in our nerd culture, and if you don't take the time to notice things, you miss out. That's why I'm here. As your Duke of Nerds, I am charged with educating, enlightening, and entertaining you on all things nerdy. I do it by running the 30 to Nerdy podcast. 30 to Nerdy is a Badcast Company production and currently playing wherever you cast your pod. Follow along each episode using the hashtag 30andNerdyPod. And check out what all is going on at 30andNerdyPodcast.com. Whether it's DC, Marvel, comics, or video games, I have got you covered. So tune in now. Cheers to you, nerds.
Coming back for another segment on this edition of the ODPH podcast, and we have to take it to the entertainment side of things and recap the biggest event that was, and that is the third installment and final for the Doctor Who 60th anniversary special recap.
Sending shockwaves across the internet.
Yes, indeed, because for the past 3 weeks, we have been graced by the return of David Tennant, who was the 10th Doctor and then now is the 14th.
Yep.
And there's a lot of question marks going on with him, but we've had 2 great episodes that have placed Star Beast and the Wild Blue Yonder. And then now we have the Giggle that just came on Disney Plus, BBC. And there's a lot of storylines going on with this because obviously we knew that we were going to be getting to the 15th Doctor, Shudigawa. Just how we were going to get there was anybody's guess. Well, we got our answers. So there's a lot of questions going into this breakdown that we're going to be having. So if you're new to the ODPH, first and foremost, thank you for checking us out. What we like to do is give a spoiler-free statement about what we're covering. So if you have not seen this episode yet and you don't want to ruin for you, we give you the time and the liner notes of when we're going to start talking spoilers. So if you need to duck out, duck out. No harm, no foul. Jump back in when you get caught up, and we go from there. But if you stay right through those spoilers, we go into a deep dive. So we don't hold anything back. So do not be mad at us if we ruin anything for you, because that's kind of why we give you this warning time in, time out. We want to make sure that we don't have anything spoiled for you, and you get to enjoy it as a fan. So that being said, Pad, what is your spoiler-free statement about the Giggle for Doctor Who?
Well, so after last week's episode, which I wasn't here to talk about, which was for me a bit of a nothing burger, a decent episode, but like the CGI just kept pulling me out of it.
Yeah.
This was a phenomenal episode. I wasn't sure what to expect because obviously the mystery up to this point is why has David Tennant returned to play the Doctor, or more specifically, why has, that likeness returned? Just because, as has been tradition with Doctor Who since it premiered 60 years ago, whenever a new Doctor, or whenever the Doctor regenerates into someone new, it's always a new face.
Right.
It's always a new actor or actress, to take on the role. It's never been the same person coming back, a la Sean Connery in the Bond franchise, coming back to play the role again. So it's that for me has always been, all right, how are we going to get here? Just because it hasn't really been, it's been alluded to, something's up. We don't know why this has happened. We're trying to figure out why this has happened, but they haven't exactly gone into any hints or speculation or possible clues as to why that's going on. It's kind of been left on the back burner a little bit, or lingering just out of eyesight. So going into this, I wasn't sure what to expect. I had a lot of high expectations because like we said, this is the final episode for the 60th anniversary. After this, it's the Christmas special, which which I had to figure, okay, the Christmas special is going to be with the new Doctor. It's not going to be Tennant returning for another Christmas special, surely. So I was excited to see how they got from David Tennant to, the new regeneration and what would happen. And just kind of how, Neil Patrick Harris would factor into this, just because he's a great actor. He does a lot. He's been in a ton of great roles. I was excited to see him, excited to see what would happen, and just excited overall for this in general, that I was anticipating going to watch this and hitting play. And when I finally did, I was thrilled and amazed.
Yeah, this episode had a lot going on with it. And for it being the end for now, I thought it was a great introduction for the next Doctor.
Yeah.
I really don't know where we're going, though, after this. I think they kind of tipped their hand a little bit, which I'm not mad about.
They're definitely hinting at some stuff.
But I was kind of like, okay, this is an interesting ploy to get from point A to point B. But I thought this was arguably the strongest of the episodes.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
But obviously with Neil Patrick Harris playing the Toy Maker, that does help a lot.
Yeah, it does.
And especially when you have, much like anything we talk about in comics, when you have a great hero with a great villain, it usually amps up. There's a difference when you have, Batman versus Clayface and then Batman versus the Joker. There's just a different element involved in it. It's not to say that one is, Clayface is a joke, so to speak. But when you have a real A-list villain to go against your hero, it brings out the best in them.
Yeah.
And you could definitely see in the scenes with Tennant and Patrick
Harris, yeah.
That,
they've got great chemistry.
Oh, yeah, you could just see it, and that's you're like, okay, I want to see more of this.
And what's funny is Neil Patrick Harris had never heard of Doctor Who before he got cast for this.
Yeah.
So this from an article on entertainmentweekly.com, quote, Doctor Who showrunner Russell T. Davies tells Entertainment Weekly that the American actor was completely unfamiliar with the beloved science fiction series when the executive producer approached Harris about playing a villain called the Toymaker on this Saturday's final 60th anniversary special episode, The Giggle. Quote, he'd never heard of it in his life. Bless him, Davis says with a laugh. I was lucky enough to work with the great man on a show called It's a Sun about the AIDS crisis in the 1980s. And working with him was such a joy. The Toymaker, he's kind of the good god of games, so he shuffles cards, he does magic tricks, and all of that fits Neil Patrick Harris. If you go through agents, they often tell you to go away. I was able to just send a text saying, do you fancy reading this? He read it and literally phoned me up going, let me get this straight. So the Doctor's an alien, right? I was like, oh my God, you really have never heard of Doctor Who. But he couldn't resist it, and he came to Cardiff, and we had the most spectacular time, close quote.
I can believe it.
Yeah, I can too.
The one thing is, even though the Doctor has been around for 60 years, unless you really are into the fandom.
Or some folks.
Right. It can pass some people by. I know it's a wild statement to make.
My fiance had no idea of it until I started watching the specials.
Right, because like I say, it's a very unique fandom. It's a great fandom, very passionate.
Yes.
But it's something that unless you have a very high tolerance for time travel, because some people don't, and that this is not a shot at anybody. This is just honest fact.
Yeah.
Unless you have a high tolerance for a lot of things that can get messy with that, you're not going to be that very energetic to go towards it. But once you get into it, it definitely locks you in because it's brilliantly written. The acting's always been top notch. There's a lot of wind to it that you just have to get yourself immersed in it.
Yeah.
So I can understand why if he didn't, because obviously he's got a lot going on. Harris just has a lot of great things happening. But to see him here, I think definitely added something to it.
Yeah.
And you could see it really resonating through this cast, and especially to where we're going after this. So I think they ended things on a high note. I'm excited to see where they're going. I'm a little confused, though, but you know what? That's the beauty of the show. You stay tuned to watch. So that being said, let's get into that spoiler talk. So in 3, 2, 1, Pad, talk to me.
The episode, like I said, was great. It was, the strongest of the 3 episodes. If I had to rank them, it'd be 3rd episode, 1st episode, 2nd episode. I loved everything about this. The mystery, the intrigue, the kind of how the heck are we going to get from A to B. I knew we had to get from A to B, but it was just kind of like the how are we going to get there? What's going to happen? And the implications with this episode, there's certain characters they hinted at and mentioned that we didn't necessarily see. But when you see the episode play out the way it does, you go, oh shit. And then just kind of the implications of there's been 2 hints of a stronger power or a higher power or whatever it was they said in the 1st episode and this episode. Obviously, this is Russell T. Davies. If you watched his run when he was the showrunner on Doctor Who before, he likes to set things up and build them for down the road and kind of plant the Easter eggs and plant the seeds early on. So he's obviously setting up for something. And I'm here for the ride.
Oh, I absolutely am. Like I say, the big surprise at the end is very interesting. Mm-hmm. And I'm happy to see it, but I'm also like, well, how is this going to work?
Yeah, that's what a lot of people's question.
Yeah, because that's the only thing I didn't like about it, but it wasn't anything to really take me out. Because if anything, I think that this sets up for a possible villain for Shudigawa's doctor to face down the road.
Could be.
Because I think with what Neil Patrick Harris did with the Toymaker role, I think that this could be another great addition to the Rogues Gallery.
Could be.
And I think that you're going to hear a lot of fans talk about this, and that's going to be good to build that up. And I think that from all signs that I saw on the show, I mean, you saw Harris just dived into this role.
Yeah, he did. He really ate this role up and was perfect for this role.
Yeah, so I fully think he's coming back at some point.
It could be.
I'm not going to say...
They'd have to write something in and make it kind of wonky, but that's what Doctor Who does, wonky things.
Oh, exactly. Like, there's no real escape for him. So if they want to bring him back, I think all parties are going to make it happen. Mm-hmm. But as this story kicks off, where we were for the Wild Blue Yonder, Doctor and Donna wind up appearing back on Earth. All hell is breaking loose, and nobody really knows what's going on.
Yep.
They open up in 1925, though, and it's in Soho.
Which is in a part of London. It's on the West End.
Right. And then we get introduced to John Logie Bard, who is a very, very famous person.
Yeah, he's the guy who invented and demonstrated the world's first live working television system. Took place on the 26th of January in 1926.
Yes, John McKay is playing him. And we get like a little insight to like what's going on, because as they're kind of testing it off, we do see that, well, he has a clerk that's working with him that kind of seems a little irritated.
Well, he goes to this toy shop and he buys a doll, like a marionette doll, and he goes to take it back to film it and to broadcast so that they can broadcast it onto the television screen. And they bring it back and they're like, oh, well, why'd you bring a doll? You know, why'd you buy that one or whatever it is? And also during this whole sequence when like the doll is getting purchased, Neil Patrick Harris is already setting up the character and his portrayal as being creepy as fuck, because, you know, the guy playing John Logie Baird, basically looks at the doll and he goes, "Are these real human hair?" And Neil Patrick Harris, in his German accent, goes, "Yes, I plucked them all. They're all real. They're off." He mentioned the name. I don't remember the person's name, but he goes, "Oh yeah, I plucked them all off of her head, every single one." And he like gave deliberate pause in the cadence that you're just like, oh my God, this guy's creepy as fuck.
Yeah.
But he brings the doll back to his studio and starts filming it. And they go, "Well, why'd you buy this? Why'd you buy this doll?" He goes, "Why can't we film it?" He's like, "Well, duh, none of us can survive the heat that's being projected from filming this."
So it does, yeah, it's kind of a little crazy thing that's happening. But like I say, as they're moving things forward, they do hear some laughing going on. And that's going to be a big factor that happens later.
Because the episode is, after all, titled The Giggle.
So from here, things shift to the present day. And we do have, right where we picked off from Wild Blue Yonder.
Shit is going sideways.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to say it's hell on earth, but it's anarchy.
I mean, basically what they find out happens is nobody's afraid of anything. Nobody's afraid of death. Nobody's afraid of this. Nobody's afraid of that. Like, people are doing whatever the hell they want. And, the only ones not affected because they weren't there when it kicked off, because, hey, time travel's weird, are Doctor and Donna. Everyone else is affected, though. And at one point, there's a guy on the street who jumps in front of a car.
Yep.
And the doctor basically goes, "What are you doing? You could die." And he's like, "I don't care. I'm not afraid of dying." He's like, "Well, why are you trying to stop this car from driving?" He's like, "Listen, and I'm paraphrasing. He goes, "Listen, I'm a good citizen. I pay my taxes. I pay for this. I pay for that. So, since I pay my taxes, I legally own the street. And I'm saying you can't drive down the street." And eventually the doctor's like, "No, you can't do that." He saves the guy. Unit shows up and takes him back to their headquarters because they're like, "Hey, finally, you're fucking here." And they basically start trying to figure out what's going on. And basically what they find, they kind of know, all right, this has been going on for 2 days. We're not entirely sure what's going on. And the doctor goes, "Well, has there been anything in the last 2 days that's happened? Like, notably, that could be linked to this. And they're like, well, there was a satellite launched, 2 days ago. About the time that launched, people started going nuts around the world. And basically what this satellite does is it connects everyone to the internet, from the highest mountains to the deepest oceans. And that's a point they make in the episode, is it reaches everywhere. So by their token, they're like, all right, this has got to be what's causing, all the pandemonium, is it's something laced in with this satellite. And they're like, all right, well, then I forget if it's Donna or the doctor. They go, well, why don't we just shoot the satellite down? Because it's UNIT. They've got a lot of interesting toys and gadgets in their office. And they're like, well, that's the thing. It's another country's satellite, and we don't want to exactly shoot it down without permission because we could start a diplomatic incident. And they're not waiting on the King of England or the Prime Minister or any of the secretaries over in England. No, they're waiting on the doctor's permission. And the doctor goes, no, yeah, shoot it down. Like, we got to stop this.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously, any situation like this, they kind of defer to the doctor always.
Yeah.
But he understands what's going on with this, and obviously, once it's determined that the satellite is responsible for it, this is where things kind of get interesting, because as they, try going further, well, they do find out that the satellite was generating a certain signal.
It's like a harmonic frequency.
And it ties back to that period in 1925.
Right, and it's a frequency that, like, it's a set of notes. They put them out. They put them on a sheet of paper, and they figure out, oh, these are notes on a music scale. And Donna hums the tune. She's familiar with music. She goes, wait a minute, that's familiar. Where do I know that from? It's like an earworm. And they then figure out that it's a tune from, it's a laugh from the original broadcast or the original televised recording, whatever you want to call it, from 1925, 1926, and what the was broadcasted then. And they then come to find out it's been kind of like supplemented or like subliminally transmitted over every screen for the entire course of like television.
Yeah, it's crazy just how deep rooted this plan is.
Because the doctor goes, to every screen that's in the unit office, command center, whatever you want to call it, uses a sonic screwdriver and flips and unburies the message on every screen. And it's literally on every screen the same laugh.
It's crazy to see how this is played out, but yeah, it's going back to the whole dummy from the original toy shop. And that laugh that we heard, that obviously before we time jumped back to the present day, yeah, we knew about this. So that's how, I love how they kind of just deep rooted that.
Yeah.
Because this prompts our favorite duo to go get into the TARDIS and go back in time.
Because they figure, all right, well, if it's coming from 1925, we got to figure out how to stop it.
Yeah. So when they get there, well, this is something that I thought was kind of a little bit of curveball. Because the doctor wants to go alone.
Yeah.
And this is kind of an interesting scenario because he's never in the past really wanted to go alone.
Right. Well, so they go up to the toy maker's shop, and there's a little bit of cat and mouse, hide and seek, peek behind, duck and dodge thing, because obviously Neil Patrick Harris's character is just fucking with the doctor,
right?
Like he knows who the doctor is, but the doctor hasn't yet figured out who it is. But they go into the business,
right,
start talking to him, and that's when the cobwebs start coming off, and he starts remembering, and that you can see that the doctor is genuinely nervous. I don't want to say full-blown scared, but he's definitely like, oh shit, I'm starting to...
He's very anxious.
It's the face at the grocery store of a former friend that like you don't talk to and you had a bad falling out with, that all of a sudden you're walking into and going, ah, shit, it's that person.
Yep.
Like I forgot about that person. I didn't want to think about that person, but son of a, they're here. It's the same thing. And the doctor knows what happens with this person, because as we've said, it's the toy maker, and rules don't exactly apply. The common laws of physics don't apply to the toy maker, and he's afraid for Donna's life. And he basically wants to like, listen, I'm going to go through this door. You got to stay here. I don't want you in the middle of this. And of course, Donna goes through anyway.
Yeah, of course, Donna's not listening.
Yeah.
I mean, no companion of the doctor has ever listened to stay on the TARDIS.
That's true.
Let's be honest.
Yeah.
But it was just kind of interesting that he jumps out from this, because the one area that we haven't really dived into is, since he has regenerated back as the 10th Doctor, even though he is the 14th. Sorry, folks.
Same face.
It's the same face. this is a situation that he's still regaining his memories, that he does not have all the pieces to the puzzle.
Also, as he says in the episode, he's like 1 billion years old.
So as he's still trying to put it together, he knows that Donna's in danger, doesn't want to risk it because obviously he understands.
He lost her once. He doesn't want to lose her again.
Yeah, I mean, it just goes to show that emotional side of Tennant, which, I mean, he just pours out in this scene. But once they start going into the toy maker's trap,
Labyrinth.
yeah, because, I mean, first they wind up in a maze, then,
Yep.
you know, we got, talking
Oh my
marionettes.
God! Well, yeah. So the dude at the start of the episode, the inventor, or maybe it was his assistant, I forget which one it was, shows up and starts talking to the doctor, and he's up, and you just see the head because he like comes behind Tennant, taps him on the shoulder, and you just see him from like the way they film it is interesting because all you see is his head,
Right.
and you're like, oh hey, it's him. I wonder why he's here. And then they do like either a camera flip or the camera pulls out and you realize he's a fucking marionette.
Yeah.
Which is all sorts of twisted.
Oh, yeah. But it works, though. I
Yeah,
mean, just
yeah.
to prove how creepy the toy maker is, because I don't want to say, when we brought up about the Joker earlier, that's kind of the vibe I was getting a little bit from Harrison's performance. But, you know,
yeah.
I'm not mad about it.
Yeah.
Not mad at all. But this is where, when the smoke clears, the Doctor and Donna are finally meeting up with the toy maker. And this is kind of like where things get really creepy.
Oh, and they start to twist the knife a little bit
Yeah.
because obviously the doctor left Donna. She got glimpses of what happened to him in the last episode. And she even brought it up at one point in this episode, but he doesn't want, obviously, given everything that's happened since they parted, he doesn't want to talk about it. The toy maker has no issues talking about it because he brings up what happened to Rose Tyler, and he brings up what happened to Amelia Pond, and he brings up what happened to Clara, and he like every other companion he had since before and after Donna,
Yeah.
Mel, everybody. He brings up what happened to them. Now, I will say he glances over a couple of facts. He talks about how he, met up with Amelia Pond and they went gallivanting across space and time and then she died. Oversimplification of the story, but you know what? She hit the cliff notes.
Yep.
But you can just see the pain and anguish inside Tennant's face as he's getting forced to relive all of these memories.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, this is a brilliant scene.
Uh-huh.
And definitely drew out the anger of the Doctor, who challenges, as much as the Doctor does his quirkiness, to a card game.
Yeah, because that's what the toy maker does. He plays games.
Yep. Unfortunately, though, the Doctor loses.
Yep.
And
So the toy maker goes, ha ha, I win. You're dead.
yes. So now at this point, the Doctor and Donna make their escape.
So no, what happens is the doctor goes, oh, well, yes, technically you did win, but you forgot one of the most important rules. Best 2 out of 3. And the toy maker, who is, we find out in the episode, listen, if he doesn't follow any moral compass, he follows the rules because that's who he is. He, for all his faults and whatever other shenanigans he gets into, he follows the rules. And that's a rule, is best 2 out of 3. So he goes, fine. We'll play your third game because the doctor beat him once before and banished him to another dimension, however they described it. He escaped, won the second game. So they're tied. If it's best 2 out of 3, none of them have won 2 games. So he goes, fine, we'll play your second game in 2023. And he escapes. All the meanwhile, the building dimension, whatever the hell this thing is, starts collapsing around him. They run back out the maze, out through the front of the store, onto the street, and the building literally folds in on itself like it's a sheet of paper and just disappears.
At this point, I got a weird thing in theory in my head that Toymaker is actually a Time Lord.
They alluded to that.
Yeah, but that was the moment it kind of clicked in for me. I'm like,
they alluded to, and now granted, if anyone's been on there like a long time watcher, we've only seen, the reboot era stuff.
Yeah.
So there could be something from before mentioning this. So apologies if they've mentioned this, but that's kind of the vibe I got too. Cause especially the one point they mentioned, they didn't outright say it, but they kind of put him on the same level, at least power wise and ability wise, as the Doctor. We're basically like when later in the episode, when they're like trying to talk him out of destroying the Earth, where Tennant is basically like, hey, listen, you and I, we can be celestial. Let's go into the TARDIS. Let's go off into space. We can be celestial beings dancing across the sky.
Mm-hmm. It's an interesting setup. So that's why I said I think they tipped their hand a little too much there.
Could be.
Which I think we'll tie into
Could
later.
be.
But we jump to the present, and Unit has taken out the satellite with a big laser beam. 'Cause
Giant laser.
laser.
It's a laser.
It's a laser. Yes. I mean, complete Austin Powers, but it works, though. But once the pair returns from time and goes into the headquarters, well, somebody is waiting for them.
Uh-huh.
And Pat, who is that?
Well, first of all, they get a little bit of a reunion of sorts because Melanie Bush returns to Doctor Who. For those of you who don't remember, she was the companion for the 6th and 7th Doctors back in the 80s, or back when those Doctors were running around. But so you get a reunion with Mel. They go to Unit. And they basically figure out, all right, hey, here's what's going on, yada, yada, yada. And all of a sudden, they start hearing music playing.
Yeah.
And they're like, what the hell is that music playing? And out of an elevator pops Neil Patrick Harris in full marching band attire, singing the Spice Girls classic, Spice Up Your Life.
Amazing.
Best scene of the episode.
Absolutely crushed it.
Oh, my God.
Because he starts just dancing around to the music. He's turning their weapons into flowers.
Petals.
Yeah, like it's amazing.
Because Tennant is trying to no, stop, don't do, you can't stop him. The head of Unit tells two of her soldiers, sees him. She turns them into balls from a ball pit at your local play place, which she goes, oh my God, what happened? Then he's like, they're dead. I'm sorry. And he's like, no, stop. Let me handle this. And she says, open fire. So all of the soldiers in the room start taking their weapons and pointing them towards the toy maker and firing, except like you said, all that come out are rose petals.
Yep.
And in a scene from what was that movie? American Beauty.
Yep.
The scene out of American Beauty, just with slightly more clothes on. Neil Patrick Harris is swimming in the rose petals on the floor.
Yeah, he's doing snow angels. It's a great scene.
It's hysterical.
I mean, but it fits to the campiness of Doctor Who.
Uh-huh.
So like I said, this is vintage Who right here.
Yep.
So eventually, the toy maker escapes to the building or the top of the roof with the laser.
Yeah, so he leaves. They're they've been trying to track him and try to hunt him down before he showed up. The process is still going on during the whole song and dance. He's like, listen, we should be further along. We need to find him. And they go, oh, we found him. He's on the roof.
Yeah. So they go up to the roof, and this is where the toy maker is saying, more or less I want round 3. Mm-hmm. And he's kind of messing around with it a little bit.
Threatening to kill Mel, threatening to kill the head of Unit, threatening to kill Donna, threatening to kill the Doctor.
Mm-hmm. So when this comes through, more or less the toy maker decides to take out the Doctor for not playing by the rules.
Well, no, he decides, you know what, we're going to play the game, but I want to do it with, I lost to one Doctor. Mm-hmm. I beat this Doctor. I want to face the next Doctor.
Yeah.
So he shoots the Doctor with the laser.
He shoots Tennant.
With the laser because he's like, hey, you know what? I know how, because he knows how to force him to regenerate. And he goes, I'm going to do it with the next Doctor.
Mm-hmm. That's what I say. That was another big tipping point that he's a Time Lord.
Mm-hmm. Or at least aware of what they can do.
Right. But it just seems it made that much more sense.
Yeah.
So as you see David Tennant get blasted with a laser, you see the companions run to each side of him. Mm-hmm. And in very Doctor Who fashion.
Says Geronimo.
Yeah.
Or no, he says LNZ.
Yep. And then he asks them to pull.
Well, because first the energy starts coming out of him like it's getting ready for a regeneration. Mm-hmm. And then it stops. And I'm watching oh, here we go again. And then the music stops and I'm like, JK? And then he looks at Donna because Donna's on his right, our left, and says, hey, can you pull my arm? What? You want us to do what? He's like, pull my arm. He goes, this feels different than before. And Donna and Mel start pulling, and out of David Tennant, half of David Tennant, comes the 15th Doctor.
Mm-hmm. So introduction to Shudigawa. Mm-hmm. And so now it is determined that this is the theory of bigeneration.
Mm-hmm. They've bigenerated, which has never happened. And according to them, isn't even really a thing. It's supposed to be a myth.
Yeah, it's an urban legend.
It ain't a myth or an urban legend no more.
Yeah.
Because it happened.
Or a galactic legend, we should say.
Yes.
Because it goes through time and space.
Yes.
So it's a situation that now we have 2 doctors, and they're ready to face the toy maker in one last time.
Which also shouldn't be a thing because, as has been history, with the exception of the 50th anniversary, 2 doctors shouldn't be in the same timeline or point in time together
Right.
because things should explode if that happens. But hey, reasons.
Yes, this is definition of reasons right here. So you do see that they wind up defeating the toy maker
In a game of catch.
in a game of catch.
In a game of catch. The most extreme game of catch I've ever seen.
Yes. And so the toy maker is now gone.
Right. Well, so they won the game, so they banish the toy maker off to some other dimension or to never return again. But I'm sure they'll find, if they want to bring him back at some point, they'll find a loophole or something they forgot to mention.
Well, at this stage, it went from being the Joker to Mr. Mistleplick.
Yes. Good analogy.
So, like I say, there's going to be a way they're going to bring him back.
Yes.
And especially, too, with how they set this up, and I'll get to it just a little bit, we get a resolution about what happens with everybody. Because David Tennant's doctor is convinced to go back with Donna and live his life away from the adventures of Doctor Who.
Well, yeah, so you now got two doctors, which has never happened before outside of the 50th anniversary special where there were 3, technically. And now it's become a case of like, okay, well, why is this a thing? Why are you why did this face return? And basically the way they come up with it is, listen, you've been running around, you've been fighting wars for all this time that you're running on fumes. Even the 15th Doctor says, like, listen, I'm you and I know you're running on fumes. You're just stretched too thin. And Donna basically tells him, like, listen, you need to take a step back, relax, and just live. Because she says, listen, look what I did after you left me. She goes, I took a step back. I took a couple jobs. I started a family, and I just, hung out and I did what I did every day. And, the doctor goes, oh, but that'd be so boring. Well, what'd I do? And she goes, yeah, it might be, but that's part of the fun is hanging out with your friends and family. And that's when he elects to stay, all right, fine. I'll let you being the 15th Doctor, go off and do your thing. I'm going to stay here. But then he comes into the issue of, well, I don't want to leave the TARDIS. I've been with it for so long. And the 15th Doctor goes, well, wait a minute. We won the game. We're supposed to get a prize. Let's get our prize. Pulls a mallet out of I forget where he pulls this mallet out. He pulls a mallet out of someplace.
Yeah.
Like a Harley Quinn mallet, too. And he goes, 1, 2, 3. And he smacks the TARDIS with the mallet and turns it into another TARDIS.
Yeah.
Only difference between these two TARDISes is one of them's got a jukebox. Inside, look the same as the new look does. But the one's got a jukebox and it's wheelchair accessible.
Yeah, which is awesome. Yeah. So we now have a new...
There's 2 doctors.
Yeah.
There's 2 TARDISes. There's 2 sonic screwdrivers. So we'll see where this goes.
Yeah. So like I say, it's really kind of crazy to see what plays out here. But then there was also a little key point, too, about a tooth.
Yeah, so at some point along the line, he didn't say when, the toy maker imprisoned the master inside of a golden tooth in his mouth, and he made a point of showing said golden tooth. It gleamed. And then when he went to get banished into another realm or another dimension, that golden tooth fell out. And someone or something grabbed said tooth off of the roof of Unit.
Yeah.
So at some point here, the master's coming back again, which I'm not opposed to.
No, I'm definitely not.
Master's always been good.
The Master's always been the Joker to the Doctor Who's Batman. So let's face it. But the fact that I'm almost wondering, is the toy maker a spinoff of the Master? Is maybe he's not the first one to do the bi-generation?
Maybe.
That's kind of it's a crazy theory, but I mean, it's got some steam to it.
I mean, the other thing too is there was a mention in the first special, the Star Beast. And then there was a mention in this episode of like someone higher, someone stronger, someone more powerful coming. Something's coming. The toy maker didn't want to mess with it. Even I forget what it was he said specifically, but the toy maker was basically like, even I don't want to mess with this.
Yeah.
And the Meep was like, yeah, no, this thing's coming. We don't mess with this thing. So something's coming some point along the way. I'm willing to guess before the end of this upcoming season. But, something's coming that's got the toy maker, the man who gives no shits about the laws of physics, and, and scares an intergalactic dominating teddy bear.
Yeah. It's an interesting setup that they have here because with Tennant now disappearing in the nothingness.
Well, disappearing into regular life for now.
Right, for now. You have Shurigawa that's going to take over the adventures.
Right.
And yet you still have the toy maker allegedly out of the picture.
For now.
The master has now been left back in.
Yeah, that's coming sooner than later.
And then there's also the rumor of the big bad behind it. I mean, there's a lot of loopholes that they just didn't tie up with this episode.
Russell T. Davies is playing 4D chess.
Yes, he is.
And I'm here.
Oh, I mean, that's the whole thing. He's such a masterful storyteller that you have to trust him. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing about this, that when we get really diving into the new Doctor season, we are going to get some answers, but if there's somebody that's even worse than the Master coming.
Yeah, well, the only thing we've got on the horizon now is the Christmas special, which is dropping on Christmas Day. They put out a thing today, which is a musical number from the upcoming Christmas special. You really can't tell much about it. It's a little wonky. The only thing I'm curious about it is who's singing that, because it sounds like a professional singer singing that song. That's the only thing I'm curious about. Gave me real Hobbit vibes. If you've seen the Hobbit movies, you'll know what I mean.
Yeah.
But no, that's the only thing we've got on the line for Doctor Who, because we know the next season is coming sometime next year, but we don't know when.
No, we don't know when, but we do know that obviously they've raised the bar for where we're going. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of questions that I got, but I'm excited as a fan because I don't know. Mm-hmm. That's one thing that we always kind of forget about in this stage, that it's cool to be surprised.
Yeah.
Especially with how many leaks get put out about different projects.
Yeah.
This has been
Looking
very
at
good
you,
reps.
Deadpool.
Uh-huh.
No, the thing I will say, too, though, is I like the look, because they did a video on social media of what Nishudi got was sonic screwdriver, because you saw it in the episode.
It looked good.
It looks real interesting, and I like it. But the other thing I like on it, too, is I forget what the saying was, but in the video they posted to social media showing off the sonic screwdriver, he said there was like a Rwandan saying on it, but written in the Gallifreyan symbols.
Yeah.
Which I thought was an awesome
It's very
touch.
Cool. Yeah, no, everything they've had come out for Shudi's debut has been nothing but win.
Yeah.
And I mean, and I think they ended the 60th anniversary specials on a high note.
Yeah, no, I was afraid it wasn't going to live up to the 50th, because the 50th was just such a whirlwind. And
right. When
they announced it, we're going to have David Tennant and Matt Smith together on the same screen, I'm like, holy shit. Like, and then that played out. And I'm like, oh my God, how are they going to top this? And, the first two episodes, I'm like, you know what? It's coming close to the 50th, but it's not living up to it lived up to the 50th.
Yeah, that's the big thing. When you can live up to the 50th, you really nail it.
Uh-huh.
And especially with what they did here. I mean, strong performances all around from Neil Patrick Harris, David Tennant, Catherine Tate. Like I said, they had so many people involved with this that there was no way that this was going to miss. There was just no way. And this is the one thing that Doctor Who does better than arguably anybody. They really make sure that they tie up loose ends, in the sense of they're going to give you, when they say special, they're going to give you specials. Mm-hmm. And they only leave the loose ends on there when it's something they want you to be invested in and go from there. And that's one thing that I thought they did exceptionally well here, because like I said, the ending is a little confusing at times.
Yeah.
Just because I'm an impatient fan.
Sure.
And I want to see what they're going to do.
Well, also, Doctor Who never does things A to B to C. It's A to B, back to A, over to D, back to C, over to G.
Yeah, it's all over the place, which is one of the beauty and charms. But at the same time, if it's more streamlined in that aspect, it becomes a little more easier to figure out. This one, I still think is anybody's guess.
Yeah.
But there's a lot more upside to it that is keeping me invested as a fan. So that's where I want to see where we go from here.
Yeah.
But nothing but big wins here for what is going on with Doctor Who as the 60th anniversary is coming to a close. Hit us up on that hashtag ODPH pod. What is your thoughts about the Giggle, now airing on BBC and Disney Plus? And where do you think the direction of Doctor Who is going with the 15th Doctor in place? Let's talk about it. We're going to take a quick break first, though. We'll be right back.
Hey, this is Scott Snyder, and you better listen to the ODPH podcast, or I'm coming for you, and Batman is coming for you.
Coming back for the final segment on this edition of the ODPH podcast. We got a lot of one-shots. Pad, kick us off.
Got a couple things to talk about, first of which is the local minute for sports, and got to talk some Binghamton Black Bears hockey, and looking at the standings for the Federal Prospects Hockey League and the Empire Division. Another week, still in first place.
Let's go.
Binghamton Black Bears in first place with a record of 11, 2, and 3. Grand total of 38 points. In second place is Motor City with 28. Danbury in third with 24 points. Watertown in fourth with 18 points. And Elmira in last with with 10 points. Looking at their schedule from the last week, they had 2 games, both on the road against the Carolina Thunderbirds. They won the game on Friday by the final score of 2-1. Hope they got short memories because they'll want to forget the game on Saturday. Lost by the final score of 8-3. Looking at the schedule they have for this upcoming weekend, they got 2 games. Both of them are at home. Friday is December 15th, 7 o'clock Eastern. They are playing the Danbury Hat Tricks. And then Saturday, December 16th at 7 o'clock Eastern, they are playing the Watertown Wolves. So for more tickets, information, all that good stuff, BinghamtonBlackBears.com. And we're going to talk a little bit of baseball because there's been some notable baseball news the last week or so.
I would say so.
First of which is the New York Yankees officially traded with the San Diego Padres for Juan Soto. They also got Trent Grisham, I believe is his name, back in the trade. They gave up a few pieces for him, but hey, I understand why they gave up what they did, seeing as the San Diego Padres are losing at least 1, if not 2, if not 3 starting pitchers, one of which being the reigning, defending, undisputed NL Cy Young Award winner, Blake Snell. So I understand that, but Juan Soto is officially a New York Yankee. Dude only hit like 12 home runs at home last season. That's in not hitter-friendly San Diego. He's coming to hitter-friendly New York. Something tells me he's going to be hitting a few more home runs at home.
Yeah, I would definitely say this is a big move for the Yanks. The only thing I fear with this, but this is an easy fix for him, they have to sign him long-term.
The only thing that's going to be the hitch with that is he is a Scott Boras client. Typically, he does not do extensions before the end of a contract, but you never know. We'll see.
I think that might have to be something that they work in there. But like I say, I'm definitely excited about the move.
Yeah.
It can only help. He's just got to stay healthy and put up some numbers.
Then the other one we got to talk about is the one that shocked the baseball and sporting world because Shohei Ohtani officially made his decision after a tumultuous Friday. Because this went down on Saturday. Shohei Ohtani signed a 10-year, $700 million contract with the Los Angeles Dodgers. A lot of details and specific numbers, breakdown stuff is not known with the contract at this time. It's been widely reported that there is a ton, like historic level of deferred money with this contract. So, and that's to help with the competitive balance tax and to help the team be able to sign some other players now and be able to build a winning team now. So something tells me that despite this contract ending at 2034 when he becomes a free agent, he'll be getting paid well beyond 2034. If they start on the Bobby Bonilla method, they'll be paying him till 2,700. But the nutty thing with this contract is he will be making more than 8 teams currently in Major League Baseball. He'll be making more than the Cleveland Guardians, Miami Marlins, Kansas City Royals, Milwaukee Brewers, Cincinnati Reds, Pittsburgh Pirates, Baltimore Orioles, and Oakland Athletics collectively pay right now, which is kind of fucking nuts. The other thing that's kind of the hubbub and mess with this is there was the kerfuffle that went down on Friday. So the thing that went down on Friday was you had one reporter. I'm not going to name names because I don't want anybody to go after this person. They've apologized, but I still don't want you to go after them. One reporter reported Friday that he was on a flight from California to Toronto when he was on his way. And people started looking for private flights out because Lord knows Shohei Ohtani ain't going to take a public flight out of California. So people started trying to figure out where he would go. At one point, there was 4,000 people watching a private flight out of one of the airports in California for Toronto with like 4,000 people watching this. Come to find out, the flight was one of the guys from Shark Tank, not Mark Cuban.
Oh, really?
Yeah, hilarious story. So the flight, 4,000 people were tracking on flight.
Wow.
The 4,000 people that were tracking the flight on Flight Radar 24 turned out to be a flight for some guy from one of the guys from Shark Tank. And we can verify this because the CBC, the Canadian Broadcasting Company, sent a photographer out there just in case it was Shohei, and it wasn't. But the reading from a tweet by Brandon Weil, who is a Baseball Writers of America member, and he is the supervising editor on the score for Major League Baseball. He tweeted, this is a couple days ago as we record, quote, "So putting all the Ohtani pieces together, it looks like Ohtani hoped to land with the Dodgers. It was reported early he knew he wanted to go, gave them chance for final offer. The agent likely initially wasn't getting the money he wanted. Someone, Ohtani's camp, leaked that he was signing with the Blue Jays and he was traveling to Toronto. After those leaks, Dodgers thought they might lose him and came in with final offer. And then he included a photo of an article from Tom Bertucci, who's another baseball writer, who says, quote, on Friday, reports broke that Ohtani's signing was imminent and that he was headed to Toronto to sign with the Blue Jays. The report was completely erroneous. The Dodgers didn't know that. They held meetings Friday night with an air of worry. The rumors were likely false, they decided, but they still created angst among the Los Angeles executives. Quote, you just don't know, says one of the Dodgers executives when asked about the Friday night meetings. That's the best way to describe it. We just didn't know. It was not a comfortable feeling, close quote. So Dodgers fans understandably miffed about this whole thing because there's a lot of people, because Drake at one point got involved in this because he put a photo on Instagram or wherever it was of him wearing a Blue Jays Ohtani jersey. Oh my God. Because of course Drake's got close ties with the Toronto Raptors. So presumably he knows some folks at the Toronto front office. Oh, Drake's giving us a hint. He's coming. A lot of folks got hyped up and then they got their hopes dashed. So... yeah. Wild story.
It's a wild story indeed, but this just proves let the process play out. I mean, that's the one thing. I mean, in a weird sense, it's kind of like the same thing happened with LeBron going to Miami way back when.
Yes.
Except, he didn't do a special to announce that he's taking his talents to South Beach.
He scooped every writer who was trying to be the first to get the credit. He posted it on Instagram.
Well, that's the whole thing. If he's smart, and he clearly is, he was like, I don't need to tell anybody until I'm ready to tell anybody.
Yeah.
And he did. So he did it his way. If anybody else was already thinking he was coming there, stop. It proves how fans can be very excited, but at the same time, they got to be smart.
Yeah, and it just proves how crazy this situation got. Because at one point, there was a rumor going around that Shohei didn't want people to know the name of his dog because it was allegedly an implication or a hint as to where he might go. So you had people on television speculating the name of his dog, trying to guess what it could mean for where he wanted to go. It just got all sorts of insane.
That's out of control.
As for the contract, absolutely absurd.
That's a joke.
Now, mind you, he's not even going to pitch this year because he had Tommy John surgery, but he can still hit. But still, he's not even going to be able to pitch this year. But the fact that he's getting paid $700 million over the course of 10 plus years is insane.
We're going to live in the day and age where somebody's getting $1 billion.
I hope that doesn't happen until after I die.
Yeah, same here. But
I could understand it if you were to say like $400 or $500 million with him. Then at least I could be like, okay, it's a lot, but I get it, sure.
See,
but even 6, stretching it, 7, fuck off.
No, I mean the deal is, I'm sorry, you're paid to play a professional sport. Mm-hmm. There has to be a hard cap all around on the board about how much money is there,
right?
And say not to go on too much of a rant, but it's I'm sorry, I feel that there's other jobs in this world that are more important.
Yeah.
That deserve more funding than sitting here throwing money at somebody that's going to pitch every 5 days and be a part of a team. Yeah,
and listen, there are some teams and some owners that are richer than others.
Yeah.
That's a fact, but I don't see every team throwing a number like this out at free agents, or hell, even what the Yankees do or the Red Sox do or the Mets do. Well, but at the same time, some of you owners could be less cheapskates than you currently are.
Well, that's the whole thing. When you deal with
looking at you, Oakland A's.
When you deal with a professional business, you mean Las Vegas A's.
They're still Oakland.
Well, like I said,
they haven't officially left.
But it goes down to the point. If you're going to be an owner of a professional sports team, you want to make it a competitive product for your fans and the game itself. Mm-hmm. So if you're not willing to do it, why are you here?
Oakland A's owner is worth a reported $3 billion.
Yeah.
Oakland A's are either second to last or last in terms of payroll.
Right, but it all
sorry, dude, you can skip on some caviar to help your team.
Well, allegedly,
because it'll come back and help you.
Well, that's the whole thing with that. It's just when you have teams that are not spending money and just kind of treating it as a fun toy. Mm-hmm. You're not going to do anything for longevity of your franchise. I'm sorry, that's just how I read it.
Yeah.
But then it's you go to the opposite end of the spectrum here. $700 million for one person. I'm sorry,
that's insane.
It's insane.
Yeah,
it's absolutely insane. So you know what, not wishing anything bad against the Dodgers, but if they don't win, I mean, this will just tell you money can't buy everything.
And also, National League, congratulations. There's your next MVP for the next 10 years because the writers love Shohei.
Yeah.
And hey, maybe that means Aaron Judge can win a few more.
There you go.
Then we got to talk some trailers because there was a bunch of trailers that came out the last week. First of which is the upcoming Netflix show, movie, whatever this thing's going to be, Mobile Suit Gundam Requiem for a Vengeance. Now, admittedly, I am not up to date on my Mobile Suit Gundam shows.
Yeah.
Making it work on that. I'm going through all the shows and watching them start to finish. I'm still working on the original right now. So I'll get there eventually. But this trailer did catch my eye because it is unlike any other trailer I've seen for a anime Gundam show to date, because no date on when this is coming out, just coming soon. But according to the description in the video released on the Netflix anime YouTube page, it says, quote, Mobile Suit Gundam Requiem for Vengeance is coming soon to Netflix in joint production with Sunrise and Safe House Inc. and made with Unreal Engine 5. Now, if you don't know what Unreal Engine 5 is, that's one of the engines they use to make video games.
Okay.
Not all of them. It's one of them. But I looked at this and I went, this looks like a fucking video game. And sure enough, it does. And I got to say, it looks real good. I might give this a watch whenever this decides to come out.
It looked good.
It did. Then we got to talk some video game trailers because there were a plethora of video game trailers that came out in the last week or so.
Well, there's a reason for it.
There was a reason for it. And that would be the Video Game Awards, which did just come out. Surprise to no one, Baldur's Gate 3 won Game of the Year. No, not really surprised there. Call of Duty developers, get your panties out of a bunch. Christopher Judge said nothing wrong. Christopher Judge, if you don't know, is the voice actor who voices Kratos in the God of War franchise.
Okay.
The reboot franchise, not the originals. He's the most recent games. He gave a long-ass speech last year when he won Best Voice Actor, whatever it was. Like, the speech went on for, like, almost 10 minutes. It was it was absurdly long. Like, I'm pretty sure they even gave him the Oscars music playoff at least twice. He came up to present an award this Game Awards season and gave a real short speech. And he said, hey, this speech is longer than, or at least my speech this year was shorter than the Call of Duty campaign. Which got everyone going, oh, and I giggled at it. I'm like, yeah,
It's meant to be a funny
that's
line.
funny, but the Call of Duty developers got their panties in a bunch. So, hey, calm down. It was a joke. And also, stop selling a full-blown DLC as a $70 game, because that's what you're doing. You can't play Modern Warfare 3 without owning Modern Warfare 2, and they're still charging you $70 for it. So calm down. But some of the trailers we're going to talk about that were released during said Game Awards, one of which was Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Cool trailer, a lot of stuff shown off for it. God, I hope if they kill Aerith off in this one, it's going to be heartbreaking, although you never know, because Zach Strife, who was in this trailer, and if you played the first one, spoiler alert, dude's supposed to be dead. He's not dead. I say spoiler alert, but the game came out a couple years ago, like 3-4 years ago. It's not really a spoiler at this point. But you never know what's going to happen with this game this time around, because in the original game, Zach Strife is dead. Not even in the first one. Got introduced in a later game. Was hinted at in the original. But he's alive at this point. So you never know what's going to happen, but we did get a release date for it. It is releasing worldwide on 2 discs, February 29th, 2024.
Yeah, I mean, trailer looked really good, but
Looks very good.
It's Final Fantasy. I mean, they can't really mess that up too much.
In a trailer that I know excited the hell out of you.
Let's go.
Coming from the folks over at Bethesda and Arcane Lion, that's the studio that worked on Dishonored and Deathloop, is a Blade video game. It's going to be a mature, single-player, third-person game set in the heart of Paris. It is now in development in collaboration with Marvel Games. No word on when this is coming out. We didn't even see gameplay footage for this, so don't take the trailer as an indication of what the game is going to look like, because it's like probably pre-rendered CGI, computer CGI. It's just like a concept of what it's going to be about and where it's going to take place. I would expect the next trailer we see, whenever that's going to be, because, hey, E3 is not really a thing anymore. But whenever they decide to unveil, the next trailer, that's probably when we're going to get maybe a gameplay look at what it looks like. But I'm willing to bet, since it's made by Bethesda's involved and Microsoft owns Bethesda, this is probably going to be an Xbox exclusive game, which, sucks. But hey, I'm a PlayStation guy and I've got Marvel's Wolverine and Spider-Man.
Yeah, like I say, it plays in your favor. But no, this is exciting news. To be honest, I didn't even hear anything about this being
Neither did I.
mentioned for a game. So the fact that we're getting that, and I know the Mahershala Ali movie is back on track. Hearing positive things coming out from that as well, too.
Yeah.
So it looks like Blade is going to have a big 2024, and that's good for Marvel to get some good press. So I'm excited for that.
And then we're going to talk about the Dragon Ball Sparking Zero trailer that came out. This, of course, is the successor to the last Budokai Tenkaichi game. No word when this is coming out. The trailer just says wish list now. It's coming out for PlayStation 5, the Xbox Series X/S, and it's going to be out on PC through Steam. Game looks good. It's got kind of that look the last couple Dragon Ball games have had, with Xenoverse 2, Kakarot, and obviously the fighting game. I forget what that one's called. Looks good. Not a whole lot to it. It's just kind of like a cinematic, hey, they're fighting trailer, which is a Dragon Ball game. Of course they're going to be fighting.
Yeah.
The cast looks like it's going to be nuts just because it's some of the Dragon Ball characters. Goku, Vegeta, Krillin's in there, Yamcha I know is shown in there, Piccolo also, but then you've got some of the characters from Super. I know the Jiren is glimpsed at one point, Majin Buu's glimpsed at one point, so we'll see what it looks like. I'm sure I'm going to pick this thing up because it looks awesome, but I cannot wait for that to come out.
Looks very cool.
And then lastly, certainly not leastly, from the trailers, the one everyone is waiting since 2011, 2012?
Something like it, man.
We finally got a trailer for GTA 6.
Yes.
Coming in 2025, so not even coming out next year.
Surprising no one.
Surprising no one, but it's coming out in 2025. The game, as has been rumored and semi-confirmed, going to be set in the Vice City location, so it's going to be set in Miami. Probably going to see a Rick Ross cameo in this game. Wouldn't be surprised. Game looks good. Game looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be nuts. It's going to be all the antics you would ensue with a Grand Theft Auto game. But the fact that it's been 3 generations, because the GTA 5 came out, a lot of people associate it with PS4 and the Xbox One. It came out on the Xbox 360 and the PlayStation 3 originally. It came out when I was still in college.
Yeah.
Because I remember buying Saints Row 4, playing through that and getting through everything I could do with that. And then Grand Theft Auto 5 came out. I sold Saints Row 4 back to the GameStop where I was going to school as credit towards GTA 5. And I bought GTA 5 while I was still in college. So it came out originally on the PlayStation 3, Xbox 360. Then they re-released it with first-person only mode added for PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One. And then they re-released it for PlayStation 5 and the most recent Xbox. So it's absolutely insane that Grand Theft Auto skipped an entire console generation. But hey, we're GTA 6 right around the corner.
Hard to believe it's here, but you know what? Good. I'm glad to see it. So
yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's like I say, I just want to actually get it physically in my hands, and then we'll go from there.
I do too.
All right, so very quickly for me, the UFC and NXT stuff, we'll be talking wrestling this week on Wrestling Night Live, Nerd Initiative, Thursday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so you get the NXT recap there. Other than that, it was kind of a little more quieter week per se as far as WWE and AEW goes, but a lot of great stuff has happened on the indies, so definitely want to make sure you drop that subscribe button for that, and also keep an ear out for it in podcast form.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff happening there as well, so definitely make sure you follow Nerd Initiative for all that. The UFC card this weekend, I'll be talking on Patreon about.
Okay.
So definitely have my thoughts there. Want to make sure that we give a little incentive for this month's bonus episode, so we'll definitely have a lot to talk about that. So patreon.com/ODPH podcast. And quick bit of movie news, because we didn't get a chance to talk about this last week, but it's been officially confirmed. 2 new additions into the Superman Legacy movie from James Gunn.
Okay.
One, we had heard the rumor. It was an all done deal, but the tweet has come out, so I guess it's now the equivalent of Facebook official. Nicholas Hoult will be playing the role of Lex Luthor.
Oh, okay.
So,
good actor.
Yeah, so there was a tweet that was put out by James Gunn on his Instagram, or actually a post on his Instagram, I should say, quote, "Yes, I can finally answer. Nicholas Hoult is Lex Luthor in Superman Legacy. I couldn't be happier. When we went out to dinner last night to celebrate and discuss how we could create a Lex that would be different from anything that we've seen before and we'll never forget. Quote, but James, we've heard this weeks ago. Why didn't you tell us it was true? Unquote. Quote, because we were still discussing it. Or we were discussing it. It wasn't final until a couple days ago, and I didn't want to tell you something that wasn't certain. Anyway, here's to Lex, one of my favorite characters in the DCU, end quote from the Instagram post, and there's a picture up of them as well.
Nice. In case you don't know, Nicholas Hoult, known for such films as Nux and Mad Max Fury Road. Marcus Brewer in About a Boy. Wasn't that the movie that was filmed over the course of 10 years?
I believe so.
Something like that. He was also in the movie Warm Bodies, and he was also Hank and Beast from X-Men Days of Future Past.
Yes, he was part of the new school of the X-Men class, so it's very cool to see him. I know that he had been rumored to be joining the new DCU in some manner, shape, or form.
Also played J.R.R. Tolkien in the biopic Tolkien.
Yep.
If you're a Lord of the Rings fan, highly recommend that movie.
Yeah, no, he's a great addition. He's a great actor.
Good movie. Glosses over some stuff, but it's a movie.
Yeah, but definitely a huge win for this new Superman Legacy reboot.
Yeah.
And it was also announced quietly, which I know it generated a little bit of buzz, but I mean, honestly, this did not like crush me in any single way, except I was super excited to hear who is going to be playing. And that is Sean Gunn is coming to the DCU, which we all knew.
Yeah.
And he's been cast as Maxwell Lord.
Wait, the dude, the same, well, I'd say the same dude.
The former dude that Pedro Pascal was playing.
Oh, okay.
So this, which like I said, it didn't crush
Interesting.
me because like Maxwell Lord, I'm not the biggest fan of.
I liked Pedro Pascal in that movie, but the role was not great.
Right, how it was written, and I agree with you. It wasn't. I think what they're going to do is you're going to see the slow but sure building of JLI.
Ooh.
And that's where Maxwell Lord will come in because knowing James Gunn, I think that's where we're going to get some Justice League International eventually.
I'll say this. The only reason I remember that character's name is because of Pedro Pascal's performance.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's
other than that, forgettable role.
Well, yeah, exactly. As far as the movies go, very forgettable. Comics-wise, a little more complicated.
I bet.
You know him more for being one of the mysterious figure behind Justice League International from the late 80s, early 90s. Definitely goes in a little different directions as time goes forward.
Mm-hmm.
And the connection with Wonder Woman that they tried doing on the big screen, you understand why if you read the comics. I will leave it at that, but I am excited for the casting because I think that Gunn is going to get him right as far as the big screen portrayal. And when Lord is written right, a lot of good things can come from the character. And I think that's why I said, like, it didn't blow me away, but I'm like, if they go this route, I will be excited for it. But I'm definitely not hating on this one way or another.
Right.
So definitely a lot of exciting news happening with DC Films. But speaking of comics, we got to close this out how we always do, Pad. Let's talk about what's coming at the shops this week.
So what I'm picking up this week, one from DC, two from Marvel. The one from DC is Superman Action Comics, issue number 1060. Of course, Philip K. Johnson still writing. This one is Action Comics Into the Abyss with John Constantine. A mistake from Superman's past has returned, and Metropolis hangs in the balance as the super family is betrayed from within and stripped of all their powers one by one. Superman sets out on a suicide mission into the multiverse, alongside the unlikeliest of allies, Constantine, the demon Etrigan, and making his return to Action Comics, Bloodwind. Plus, during Beast World in Metropolis, Dreamer has a run-in with the life-changing consequences, and Zod's son begins to suspect New Kandor isn't as peaceful as it seems in the prelude to Kneel Before Zod #1. So that sounds like it's going to be all sorts of nuts. Then from one's from Dark Horse, I should say. The first one, that is Star Wars The High Republic Adventures, Phase 3, issue number 1 from Daniel Jose Older. This one reads, quote, "Out here at the edge of the war, death surrounds us. It has been 1 year since the fall of Starlight. Padawan Lula Talisola and many others are missing and presumed dead. At the Alamaj Cantina, a Republican outpost on the planet of Iridu, Zine mourns and waits when an intriguing transmission is received from Tartakville. A warlord on the remote moon of Baracront, Zine, Court, and a void-contemplating droid named 5AG3 must venture once more into the hyperspace to repair their fractured team and perhaps the galaxy." Super exciting stuff. Like I've said before, High Republic is some of the best writing Star Wars is doing to date. And then the other one I'm going to mention is from the wonderful folks over at Marvel. This one is Star Wars The High Republic, Shadow of Starlight, issue number 3 from Charles Soule.
There you go.
Bel Zettifar, Jedi Knight. Many Jedi Knights were lost in the fall of Starlight Beacon, and many lost their way after the disaster. Bel Zettifar did not. With his trusty Sharhound Ember at his side, Bel will battle to rid the galaxy of the villainous Nihil, and they won't be alone. Learn who survived the fall of Starlight. So obviously Starlight is a space station that has been kind of the central focusing point along what's been going on in the High Republic. So to kind of see what's been going on with that and get some updates, because they did Phase 1. Phase 2 was kind of like a look back. Now they're going back to where they were in Phase 3. It's going to be interesting to see where they go, because I'm super excited for this.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of cool stuff coming out from Star Wars, especially, like, say, Charles Soule. Mm-hmm. You can't really go wrong there.
Nope.
All right, for me, on the DC front, well, we have Beast World #2 coming out, so that is the big Titans crossover. If you read the first issue, it was wild. I fully expect this to be right there with it. It's going to be exciting times. Also coming out from DC, Batman and Robin #4. This is one of my favorite Batman stories I've read in quite some time. It's fun. It doesn't get into too much of what's going on in the Chip Zdarsky run, which I do love. I want to make that very well clear.
Okay.
But this is more focusing on the dynamic between literally Batman and Robin, Bruce and Damian Wayne, the father and son dynamic. So I really enjoyed the series thus far. Like I say, the first 3 issues have been great. I fully expect this one to be something as well, too. Outsiders #2. So this is the return of one of the more interesting teams in the DC universe. But with the Hive Mind writing, Jackson Lansing and Colin Kelly, you know I'm definitely going to check this out. Their Thunderbolts was freaking amazing with Geraldo Borges drawing. Oh, my God. So good.
Okay.
So good. That's with Marvel. But obviously, Outsiders, they're doing some really cool things. Issue #1 was definitely different than I thought it was going to be. I like the take they're doing, though.
Okay.
Because the Outsiders can be a tricky team for various reasons. But I like what they're setting up here. Also, from Marvel coming out on Wednesday, Spider-Gwen Smash, #1. Melissa Flores is writing. That's all I need. Melissa Flores writing Spider-Gwen. Go Spider. Done.
Enough said.
Take my money. Because obviously, if you read Mighty Morphin Power Rangers by Boom Studios or The Dead Lucky by Image Comics and Black Market Narrative, you know Melissa is an amazing writer, and I fully expect this to be something very, very special. Also, from Dark Horse, funny you mentioned that, Pat.
Yeah.
They have got a really big week coming out this week, but there's one book that caught my attention, and that is Masterpiece. And it's Brian Michael Bendis and Alex Malv, who you know from Daredevil and Scarlet.
Yep.
It's them teaming up on a new book.
Okay.
And I'm showing you the cover right now.
Oh, that's interesting.
The origin of the New Criminal's Criminal.
Huh.
I don't know what to expect here, but you know what? You have those two teaming up on a book. I will pick it up.
That's a good twosome.
Yeah, so definitely that's coming out from Dark Horse. I know that they have got the new Kevin Smith book coming out, Quick Stops.
Ah, okay.
So that'll be coming out this week too. And if I'm not mistaken, top of my head, we also got the Minor Threats, the Alternates finale there coming out as well too. Like I say, they got Dark Horse always has some really good stuff. So if you haven't checked out them in a while, definitely make sure to keep an eye out for that when you hit the comic shops this week. Last but certainly not least, Image Comics is big Massiverse week. Speaking of the Massiverse, Radiant Black number 27.5 and 27 respectively. Because if you know the story, you know why I'm referring to that. Is that? That'll be hitting there, plus Rogue Sun number 17. So obviously big week for the Massiverse. And then from Boom Studios, crushing it this week, and one of my favorite series that I've been fortunate enough to get a chance to review and read, House of Slaughter number 20.
Ooh.
So this is something that if you're a fan of Something is Killing the Children, the James Tynion story, this is the spin-off. It's the anthology style, so you get spotlights on certain characters involved with this Order of St. George. This is going to be the conclusion of the current story arc. It has been a very, very cool read. So if you haven't picked it up, definitely make sure to go check it out. There's so much going on. You really want to make sure you hit the comic shops this week, and make sure when you're down there, if you have a pull list, make sure you pay it up for the holidays. And as we always like to say, make sure you go out and support your favorite LCS wherever you're at in the world. And if you're looking for comic recommendations, odphpodcast.com and nerdinitiative.com, starting every Wednesday, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Got them dropping every half hour now, Pat.
Nice.
On Nerd Initiative. We have so many. Last week, I was almost going to say a record week for how many reviews between Tuesday and Thursday. A lot of stuff coming on there. Comixology Originals got a great lineup too coming out too. Man, there's just what a time to be a comic book fan. That's all we're going to say with that. But like we say, make sure you follow Nerd Initiative for all that news and then some too, along with odphpodcast.com, where you can find out everything and anything that's going on with the ODPH. That's it for this week. So for the one and only Pat Owanje.
Fuck the Astros.
I'm your host, Ken. Thank you as always for listening to the ODPH podcast, better known as the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour. See you next time.
It's a such waste of time, swiping left and swiping right on people you could know. 'Cause anyone who's worth a damn be worth way more than a picture could ever show. You could find the right light, find the right angle, and never find your soul. And it can feel like a losing battle, and this plot is full of holes. This modern way of finding love just makes me feel so alone. And I can't be the only one sick of staring at my phone. So look up, talk to me, a better way to spend our energy. Just look up, talk to me. We don't have to float alone on the open sea. Don't know that I believe in the old time fable. Everyone has just one true love. All I know is you're across this table, and you're all I'm thinking of. So look up, talk to me, a better way to spend our energy. Just look up, talk to me. We don't have to float alone on the open sea. Ooh, ooh, talk to me. Ooh, talk to me. It's such waste of time, swiping left and swiping right on people you could know.